Left my coffee downstairs. Geez, that's annoying. Okay, well, you just have to wait. All right. So I figured I would. I have a echo here. Oh, that's right. So I figured that I would talk about some economics. Now, to a degree, I am in a similar situation as Gary is about physics. I feel that I've got the intuitive grasp of economics finally after a life of trying to understand, trying to take, academic uh, economy or economics into account. And it's not entirely because of Henry George, but that's when the click happened. But um, I've tried to get this. They just economists say so many things that are counterintuitive or weird, or there's laws which are enigmatic. Um, so, for example, with I've always wondered with economics if when you have automation, automating farm work ought to help the farm worker. Now, even if some people are going to lose their job because less people are necessary, the guy that's left over, you'd think he'd be helped out. Well, no. I mean, the farm worker of 500 years ago lived at the bare sustenance of his age, and the farm worker in our era does, with no security. Um, and I'm not saying they should make, as much as uh, Elon Musk, but you'd think they'd get some more. If 100 people used to run a farm that now 5 people can run, you'd expect those 5 people would make more money and have gotten to the point of not having to worry about their everyday expenses, right? And maybe there's 95 people out of work. That would be another issue. So why can we not have progress without hurting the worker? That's kind of one puzzle. Um, Another puzzle is just in general on the same topic. We have all this production. Why has all of society not gotten wealthy? People still believe and say, there's going to be somebody at the bottom, and that evidently means, to hell with the hindmost. Whoever's taking the back position is going to get fucked over. But as a species, we're so much more powerful. Why would that have to be, right? Um, oh, I had another one in mind, though, besides that one. Maybe it'll come to me later. So, one thing years ago that was interesting to me is this guy, Jimmy McMillan. If you remember, this is the guy that had the rent is too damn high party. And I really like that. It seemed to have a nice vibe to it. And in progressive politics, rent is actually a big issue in really cities that are, liberal or have had some liberal laws, San Francisco, Berkeley, New York, or whatever. In the U.S., and I understand in more European townships and whatnot, you have rent control. It's a big issue. Rent is it's the main expense for most people trying to live in the city, especially these days, where even if you're making a good income as a college graduate, you're going to have to rent a house in San Francisco with 5 other young people in order to be able to afford a place in any house at all. And why why do these things happen is really the question. Okay. So Jimmy McMillan is just saying the rent's too damn high. Henry George proves that why that's the case, why the rent is, what that means, where that comes from, and in fact that is the fundamental problem, and that the fundamental problem is not really a battle between labor and capital, though there's conflicts there that I'm not sure Henry George really covers in detail, because he's pointing out his emphasis is more that this is not where the real capital and labor, they cooperate to produce things. The issue is a third element, and that's the point of any, as far as this clicking into a economics 101. You have three elements that help in any, or that are involved in any productive activity. Certainly there's land, because you need a place to work on, or if you're gathering berries, you need a place with berries, or if you're going to have a farm, you have to be able to make grazing pastures. If you need land, and the land is the land itself and its resources, the minerals underneath the ground, or the quality of the soil, these natural qualities of the land unimproved, right? But it might have, it'll have valuable things on it. Just the space itself is valuable, you know, to do something, have a workshop. But it might also have some other natural value to it, and that would all be considered land. Then there's labor, of course, which people provide, and then there's capital. Now, capital, in the sense of Henry George, is the sense of classical economics, and I think in contemporary economics as well, but it's not the natural language, just regular version of the term. It's not just money. If you think of capital as money, it's not money. It's money is one kind of capital, but really what capital is it's wealth, which I'll describe what wealth technically is in a moment. It is wealth that is applied to producing more stuff, to producing more wealth, which, as I said, I'll describe in a minute what wealth means, right? A poor person has some amount of wealth. It's a small amount of wealth. That's why we call them poor. But there's a technical definition for wealth so that you can understand a piece of wealth, a tiny bit, the incremental meaning of that term, right? So capital, for example, if you're a seamstress and you sew dresses for people, your sewing machine is capital. Now, if you just sew dresses for yourself for your own enjoyment, then the sewing machine is a piece of wealth, but not necessarily capital, because you're not employing it to produce for something to take for exchange, right? You can think of a lot of examples from the workshop, from the leather apron class, as Benjamin Franklin would call it. You know, a printer. You can own a printing press because you like to print things, you're rich, and it's a toy for you. But most people that own a printing press are printers, and they're going to print things for other people and make an exchange. They're going to use this thing that was produced by somebody's labor, which is a piece of wealth, this printing machine, to make more money. That is capital, right? So you have capital, labor, and land. The land takes rent. That's the payment for use of the land. These are very familiar terms. The capital takes interest. So for example, let's say I have, this is an example actually that happened back in the late 1800s that Henry George uses, but out at the Farallon Islands, they went out there and they're picking pigeon eggs or something, right? And there's people that got a lease to use the land and had some boats and some baskets, and they hire people to go out there and collect the eggs of these birds. And the people come back, they're paid in eggs. You get to keep a certain amount of the eggs. You can, of course, sell them at the same market or what have you. The baskets are capital. The boats are capital. The payment that people get for providing the capital comes in eggs. The wages come in eggs, and in fact, the rent comes in eggs. Oh shit!
I like eggs. What the fuck? Someone
We
said
all like
egg.
eggs, but do you eat pigeon eggs? I mean, you're from over there in the
Well,
cool
you
land,
can.
probably.
Well, it wouldn't be technically a
Well,
pigeon.
what's the weirdest egg you've eaten?
Quail egg.
I thought so. What a
But
brick.
that's technically a pigeon. It's a
Gross. That's gross.
small looking weird
That's
thing.
basically a lesbian chicken.
Yeah, it's a quail. It's a quiffy. It's a quiffy bird.
I have eaten quail. It's delicious.
Yeah. Well,
I've eaten
and we
pigeon.
eat pigeons. We can eat pigeons. You don't want to eat the
Well,
ones that fly around in London, though. They probably got
the only,
rabies or some shit.
I'm not. Yeah, it might have rabies, but those are basically the pigeons that you can eat if they're healthy. It's the
Yeah,
same.
well, we call them wood pigeons. We distinguish between the ones that live in the forest and the common ones that you want to kick or that want to nuke you when you're shopping or whatever. So yeah, I mean, they're basically still pigeons. It's just that you wouldn't want to eat one of them.
I turned out I have eaten a pigeon, and it was at the fanciest restaurant, probably at least one of the top fanciest restaurants I've ever eaten at. And it was funny because my wife, now ex-wife, I knew she wouldn't eat it. And she's like, "This is the best steak I've ever had." And her aunt, who was paying for it, I didn't pay for it. I mean, she took us there. It was a kind of restaurant where you don't get to choose. They just feed you what the chef wants to feed you for the day.
Yeah.
And there's like 6 courses. And she's like, "This is the best steak." And it's like, oh, she didn't hear it was pigeon. And I figured she wouldn't eat it in that case. It was really delicious.
Mm.
And that kind of restaurant, I actually am a big fan of that kind of restaurant, not being a stupid rich person thing like maybe the opera. And, maybe those are okay too. But, I think it's a good thing. If you get a really good meal, you pay $70 for it or even $100.
As long as it's tasty, for fuck's sake.
Tasty and creative. It's like you get to eat a work of art. I mean, what's that worth? So, it's not something you can afford to do all the time, but as far as, is it worth it in terms of extravagant things, yeah. On the other hand, I went to some restaurants in Hawaii that were super expensive, especially if you get some wine or something. And I was like, what a shithole. It's like going to a Denny's that happens to be $70 a plate.
That's bad.
So, yeah. I've never been somewhere that was $70 a plate, actually, but I've been a lot of places that were like 30 to 50, 40, and then of course you're going to get a bottle of wine, and that's what raises it to 70. Everybody has a glass of wine, suddenly it's fucking 70.
And you can't have just one bottle of fucking wine. Especially
that's right.
Many people just like, we need like 3 at this point, which is like Zoom. That's when you got like the $200 mark. It's not the food. Yeah. That's just the fucking wine.
Yeah. At a good restaurant, one of the worst things is I went to the one that was really shitty, and one of the reasons is it was mostly like beef and stuff, very American beef. And if you try to order a steak at a good restaurant, supposedly good restaurant, and you try to get it medium well or well done, if you want it cooked all the way through, fuck you. The waiter will treat you like you've got AIDS.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Browbeat you into having raw meat, and it's like, I like it cooked.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was gonna say, like, look, it's some people like that kind of. I don't. Okay, can you cook my fucking cow, please?
Exactly.
Just saying. I don't want it bleeding on my plate. It's gross. That just grosses me out. I want to cook.
Right. I think this is an international working class thing, actually, is that sometimes you want your meat cooked.
Yeah, just please.
I just have a fire. I feel lucky to have a fire so that I can cook it.
Yeah, exactly.
I eat it when I'm eating rats in the winter. Okay, I don't cook it, but
why even bother? Then just send me the fucking cow. I'll chop it up myself if that's the case. Yeah. Look, I'll bite its ass. Yeah, I like my
development going. I remember I was talking to you about you should give me a job, and then I didn't contact you yet or anything. But I do remember seeing some of your I don't know, you call it a trailer or a demo or whatever, right? I forget how I got this link, but it looked pretty fucking good. So what's going on with that? You guys are making a game, or you've already?
Well, we haven't made any game yet because it's just no one gets paid to do it.
Yeah.
So to speak. So everyone's just doing their own shit right now. Like, life is that way, obviously, for your good self as well.
Me
but
too.
When people have time, it'd be nice to have a hangout, if we can, where we can discuss what kind of game, blah blah blah, and then
Yeah.
we'll all go away and just beaver in our own time, and then maybe have another hangout and go, oh look, this is what I produced, and then
Have you noticed that games are, I don't know if they still are, but at one point within the last couple of years when I was looking at it, games are the number one thing on Kickstarter and crowdfunding. And there's
we
some
can make
there's some
money.
Christian there's some Christian ones actually. People making really nice looking
Kim
games where
Kardashian has a
you're
fucking game, for
David.
fuck's sake.
Yeah, so I'm working on a game. I just, I'm looking for work now. My last contract was the beginning of December, end of November. And I just interviewed today for a place where I'd create courses for JavaScript programming. One cool thing is I can do stuff on the side, which if I contracting, I can do stuff on the side. But I'm working on a game that's browser based using 3JS. I have this idea for an infinite board game that I don't want to give away the whole idea or anything, but it's something I've thought about for years.
Well, I can't
Hey,
code. That's my problem. I can't code, and that's my problem. What's up, Nathan? So for me, it'd be like it's more the 3D shit,
Yeah.
because that's what I do. I do the 3D shit. So I couldn't help you out with that game, sadly. I mean, I could do some graphics though. I'm pretty good at the old graphics. So if you need any help with graphics,
Well, it's also ideas, but also it's not even games. But like with my cousin, who have been teaching how to do a Linux administration.
Okay.
We put up a Minecraft server. I have a modded one, but I don't.
Yeah, I hate Minecraft.
Keep it up. No, but it's great. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it. I have this game I play that's like Quake. It's called Sauerbraten.
Okay.
Put that up. I just like, you know what? My lowest standard is, especially if I had a way to make ends meet while I was doing it, is you put up a bunch of open source games. Get into open source gaming. And not just open source, but also some games like Minecraft or Cityscapes. There's games that are open source friendly.
I just want
to, like anybody on Steam, basically.
No, but that's where we want to put our game. Well, we've already got the company sorted out, so you can actually see the logo. It's non-conform.
Well, what was that demo I saw? Somebody used a game building kit or what? I remember.
No, that was me. That was me making a little tester level. Was it the Tron level that I showed you?
I don't remember. I saw a couple. I thought it was a while ago that you happen to have.
Yeah, it was me using. Well, you're good at code, and this is the thing.
Yes,
if you got into, you could fucking demolish the code in fucking Unreal Engine. Unreal is so easy to use in my case, right?
Yeah.
And it's free. There's nothing stopping you getting it.
Oh, is it? Is it free? Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah. Well, at first, it wasn't. I sent a big long ass email, like really long ass email. I was like, "How dare you?" You know, I'm just a small indie developer, kind of thing. Fucking give us it for free, and if I make money, just tax me on the copyrights.
Well, a good one I found out through a game I bought, and then I researched it. It's not free, but is called Unity, and it's
cool.
Free. I guess
Unity is free. You just charge it copyrights, and you.
Unity is free. The assets are not.
Yeah.
You mean Unity is free, but not to like commercial? You mean you can go get it?
Yeah, you can go get it right now. You can fuck around with it. But if
you want like other people's assets and stuff, you gotta pay for.
No, but even if you use Unity to
There's
make
a royalty.
You still have to give them royalties, yeah. And I think that's fair. Obviously,
it's totally fair. It's totally fair, and it's a good system. And what I liked about it is, even though it's originally Windows based and C#, like I got this game. I think it was written in Finland. This much better Sim City game called City Skylines or something like that. And it's in Unity and it runs in Linux.
A good system that Steam fucking ruined.
Which one?
Unity. By basically being like, oh yeah, we don't give a shit if you just steal Unity store assets and just make a barely functioning game.
Yeah, and we don't. We want to build on from like the bottom up. We want to make it a simple but fun game. You know, that's all we want to do, and then put it on Steam and sell it for like
nobody wants to use Unity Store.
See, I don't want to do that. I want to be in the browser. I mean, even though it's substandard,
they actually have Unity stuff for browsers. Like a lot of Newgrounds games.
You can do browser stuff as well with Unreal Tournament. That's the thing.
Because like Flash.
An app for your phone works in the browser just as well.
I'm just playing around directly with WebGL, you know, the OpenGL in the browser, and there's a thing.
I know a lot of the newer games on Newgrounds and Great, they're using Unity instead of Flash because Flash is dying the slow death.
Flash is already dead.
If Unity, since Unity seems to run really well, it runs well in Linux. I gotta assume it runs as well in Windows. Then that's good enough, right? I mean, if it really, but
well,
obviously
actually,
it's a native app, you know. And
I tell you who has a better kit. I'm gonna say this because I make assets for games. The better one actually is Stingray, which is made by Maya, which is made by Autodesk. Autodesk literally brought out one that's its like twin sister for Maya. It's way better. It makes Unity and all these other ones useless basically because the same assets I build in Maya can instantly, and I do mean instantly, can be changed over in Stingray. And I can literally model it over there on I can model it on this screen and send it over on the other screen. Oh yes, please.
So wait, what kind of 3D modeling program do you use?
I use Maya.
Maya? And what happened with Maya? That's a really old one back in the 90s when I was in the gaming industry.
3ds Max.
It was like hundreds of thousands of dollars then. They went open source too, Maya?
No, Maya's not open source.
No.
Well, it is and it isn't kind of thing. It's not free. It's very expensive.
Autodesk bought them. Yep. So it's still a commercial one, and Autodesk owns them now. Huh?
Yeah, Autodesk owns. Well, it's always Autodesk used to have 3ds Max, and then they got Maya, which used to be called Lightwave back in the day.
Oh, right. Well, I remember both of those names. But what do you mean 3D Max doesn't exist anymore?
No, you can get all of them free now, but you can just use an educational thing. I mean, still the fucking same.
I use Blender when I want to do that, but I'm still not very good at it. I mean, nobody has ever made.
Okay. I've never used Blender, to be quite perfectly honest. I've used Cinema 4D, 3ds Max, Rhino back in the day. Like
Blender has a whole game engine as well, where you can make games. It understands skeletons, and then you can have a standalone game. It's got physics, but it's really hard. But all of those programs.
The good thing about the Unity store is you can literally buy anything on it.
Well, that's not good though.
See, I don't know. I just noticed this one game that used it, and yeah, that's what I'm saying. It seemed like a really neat community and
Well, not only can you get like assets and stuff, but you can also get like game mechanics and shit, and like
well, you can get all that. You can get all that on the Unreal Engine as well, and they're free. They're called blueprints. You can literally just download them for free. In fact, they give you them for free as soon as you get them. You can get third person, first person, side scrollers.
So all these things look at Undertale. What the biggest fucking game of last year? That was made in fucking in Game Maker.
Yeah.
Right. See, I want to make a really simple browser game, so you don't need any plugins. I'll wait until it's successful and I have $10 million to make it 3D.
If you use Unity, you need the Unity plugin.
Yeah. No, I know. So, but I mean, you can do so much. If I make a little 2D game or a fancy board game,
but the thing is,
that can run. You know, basically the browser OpenGL or WebGL, it can do game. You know, graphics from the 90s and from 2005. Or whatever, and this is good enough for a lot of games like Jeopardy or Scrabble or things better than that as well. Or Minecraft, for example, it's actually getting to the point where it could keep up with a Minecraft kind of a system. So it can. I want to make a game like that.
Honestly, probably be better for Minecraft.
Yeah, and I would. Well, also because
Java's not the most stable of things to make a game in.
No, Minecraft is amazing. It's the best Java program ever.
It's a miracle it works as good as it does.
It is, and it's still, of course, it's on the like a browser game, noticeably slower than an actual, recent release uses your graphics card well kind of game. So something simple, and then I would like to make a full 3D immersive kind of thing someday.
It would be easier to make a 3D game than a fucking Java one. Put it that way. the technology that we've got now, I'm just saying, it would be fucking
well, like I'm using Three.js to make what'll look like a souped-up board game, right? So it is 3D, but it's not really rich in
No, but what I'm saying,
a lot
dude,
of triangles in it, you know?
but the coding alone, right, is just gonna. You could use that talent and actually do something in half the time that is just as good. I'm literally telling you that as someone who makes things in this world, right? You can. Just forget the browser shit, dude. It's just a waste of your fucking energy.
No. I disagree because see, it's finally matured, and it is the container. Everything's going to be running in a browser-like container, just like they told us in the 90s. And hey, I resisted it until it was ready, but
that's basically what like app games are.
Yeah, no, you're going to have Call of Duty quality, all of this, and with Moore's Law, it'll get good enough even while native apps are better. It'll get good enough, and there's so many advantages, but at a certain point, it won't just be good enough. It'll be as good because the browser is going to get better and better at doing all the native 3D card stuff, and it's the easiest way. It's what you want to do. It's like turning to a channel on the TV. It's the way humans want to plug into stuff. It's like, I clicked in the channel. Now I'm playing.
They'll definitely eventually meet the consoles because they've basically hit their peak at this generation.
Hey, what do you think about that? I heard the consoles are over.
No, hold on. Let me just say this, right?
Might have a PC that is in a console box, but there isn't a PlayStation 7 coming along or whatever.
Listen to this, right? Listen to this.
Well, I'm curious, Napalm, what you think about that.
Let me just say,
Go ahead.
Both Sony and Xbox, or Microsoft in this case, announced last year at CES that they're not making any more consoles.
Right.
Literally,
I didn't know about that.
They're going to stream their new shit over the internet. Literally, you're gonna just stream it.
But the thing is, 2 other devices. Right, 2 other devices like they're not going to invest in anymore. Why would you make a custom?
No, because all you need to do, right, is build a big shitload of servers, which obviously you can, and stream it to people's computers. That's what Steam did with Steam Link.
Well, and also, what is the console? Back in the day, we were like, what do you mean? We got a computer. Why don't people just buy Commodore 64?
Well, that's the thing. Like, pretty much anything that would... Anything that distinguished a video game console has basically gone away.
It went away, but it went away for a really clear reason. I was working in games back then, and the deal was like this. It was really weird to us, but basically, if the thing had a keyboard, it was a computer, people felt intimidated. They wanted an Atari with just controllers, so we started building...
I always saw the main advantage of a console over a computer is you can just put the game in and immediately play it.
Works. Yeah, it's
right. But with the Commodore 64, you had that kind of thing, or there was an Atari 1700 or something. You put a card.
Yeah, you had to deal with sometimes with a cassette tape, and then.
When you started. Yeah, that was annoying. I remember that with the Amstrad and playing Arcade Warriors. The tape wouldn't work sometimes. It's like really.
You could have put a keyboard on a Super Nintendo and had a word processor on it pretty much as good, better because of the graphical nature than a lot of PCs at the time, but they wouldn't sell. People tried to do it, right? They didn't want the keyboard. So basically they made the console as a thing where, okay, we'll let you control it without a keyboard.
You just stripped it down to a basic fucking computer.
But,
play game. That's it. It was a Neanderthal. You play game. You nothing anything else.
Here's the other thing they did. They would give it souped up. They'd spend a little extra money on the graphics card and a little bit less on everything else in the machine and get this price point. And now, what's the fucking point? One, people want a keyboard. They can handle it and just buy it as a USB extra. And two,
well, now you can just get an Xbox controller and
just go on your
computer. Right. So
I've got a Steam controller for fuck's sake. I haven't used it yet, but I've got one.
Yeah, no, and the graphic cards, the cheapest computer graphics cards are good enough to do. What are they going to do? They're going to make a special deal with NVIDIA to do something better and cheaper on the Xbox 7? No. That game's over. And so, but you might get people, and this is actually a business opportunity, that just make PCs and Linux PCs, or like the Steam PC is a Linux gaming machine, and you might put it in a box that looks like a console, instead of a desktop box.
Exactly.
But basically,
that's what's going to be selling.
Well, I hope so. That's a great opportunity
we've had that
for everybody, right?
if you're a PC nerd like me, we've had them. They're called shuttles. That's what we call them. They're called shuttles. You can literally carry these little badasses around in a box. Yeah, they're called shuttles. You can see them now on any nerdy web page. They're called shuttles. They're just like little boxes with a lot of power in that destroy Xboxes and PlayStations. They destroy them. A fucking.
Wait, by who? By who? What is this?
Huh? They're made by all kinds of fucking people. ATI.
Okay. They're little gaming machines, you mean? Or?
Yeah, little tiny gaming machines.
Exactly, yeah. No, you can make a little tiny... Because PCs have gotten so you can customize them so much...
That they make little tiny ones.
Console. You don't need a console.
You don't. Yeah, we haven't
have a console with lower graphics because you don't care, and better sound or better both or whatever.
We haven't needed consoles for about 10 years at least.
So that's interesting, because what I think will happen then is, okay, we get the consoles dying. There's not just this triopoly or monopoly, or there's not just one or two of those. It means that a lot of guys can start packaging up cheap game PCs, because right now, build your own game PC is like setting up your hot rod, and people spend all this money.
Oh, I like my hot rod. Leave my hot rod alone.
But
no, it'll be left alone. But I mean, a lot of people just give me the cheapest fucking machine I can run the next Call of Duty on, and people will be able to package that up themselves, and you'll have Napalm's box instead of Xbox.
That's why I don't think consoles will go away completely.
No, the idea of only PlayStation.
What do you think will be left, Napalm?
No, I think the market's going to get way bigger.
That's more and more to just being stripped down, super cheap computers.
Right.
Yeah, but that's what you need them for, right? Because that's what a console is—a stripped-down, super graphical computer.
Yeah, but you might actually go to Dell and get their $300 console because of what you want to use it for. And
if like the Steam box is
Steam
a success, then like everybody is going to start basically.
I would hope it would be that one, because that one's supposedly Linux-based, right? And I just want there to be Linux compatibility.
Gabe hates fucking Microsoft.
They have a Linux one. There's like 16 different versions of the Steam console.
And there's loads of different makers as well, which is awesome. There's more people on the market, and to be honest, Steam is still the #1 go-to place to download digital content.
I think that's why Sony and Microsoft are talking about like doing stuff online. It's more about like copying Steam and being like, we want some of that money.
Steam is definitely one of these tiny, like ARM, tiny companies that is
It's
growing.
not tiny, it's the biggest.
Well, no, but it's biggest at what they do,
EA,
but no, it's not.
EA copied every other model that you see on the internet has copied Steam. I remember Steam first came out and everyone was like, what the fuck's this? And I was like,
Steam is a copy of the whole App Store idea, right? And Apple
it is.
It's
an App Store
for
games.
Everybody bought the App Store, and Steam is
actually came way before. Like Steam originally came out like 2004.
Steam is the original one.
Okay.
Steam is the best.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I remember there was no.
I didn't know that until recently, because I was I bought a game.
Look at this.
I get the idea. They're a really cool company.
I've been using Steam for 12 years. Before that, I was still playing Half-Life.
You know what, from the gaming industry point of view, another thing that's really simple about what a console is people put it under their TV, on their TV tray, not in their office. That's a huge thing. So that's why it's become so popular. We watch all our Amazon and Netflix on the fucking Xbox and PlayStation. My stepson, his friend gave him a PlayStation that was supposedly broken. All it had to be, it would have been turned off at the wrong time, so we were able to reset it, so he got that for free, but we had to buy a controller, so it wasn't totally free. But anyway, you watch all of your Amazon and Netflix, everything, all of these cable box apps on it. It's a huge advantage as a business trying to sell games and entertainment is that it goes where people get entertained, right? Your office computer doesn't do that. And even your laptop, it's like, it's not on, it's not in the right room. Maybe you bring it there. So I think that's a fun thing to do.
I think at least Nintendo will survive as a console maker because
Really?
like
No.
because if no other reason they kind of just do their own weird
No,
little
dude, they're gonna
thing.
go Sega and just be making,
Yeah,
Mario
I was about to say
Brothers
that, right? I was
for
about to say that.
everything else. They'll be
When
making
when
Mario
PlayStation came
Brothers
out,
for 50,000 years, but I can't imagine they're gonna keep.
no, when PlayStation came out, right? Sega were like, "Fuck that, bye bye." They just
You know
said,
what'd
"No,
be
we'll
cool
make
is if
games. We're not
they
going to
did.
build consoles anymore."
What'd be cool is
No,
if the
Sega
next
kept on until
Nintendo.
the PlayStation 2. That's
What'd
what
be
killed Sega.
No, as soon as they knew the PlayStation was coming, dude, they're all Japanese for fuck's sake. They were like, "Fuck that shit."
No, PlayStation came out in like '94 in
Sega
Japan. Like
never did really very well
Sega,
anyway.
Dreamcast came out in like 2001.
The thing
Yeah,
is, Sega.
The Dreamcast was the death of Sega
Yeah,
at that point.
but also Sega had never really done that well. It had some hit games that made it seem like it was in the race, but it was never really.
Well, I'm
Sega
sorry, but
only
the Sega Mega Drive was better than
no.
the
Well,
than its
yeah,
fucking.
no, I'm not saying
That was the
otherwise,
that
but
was
so
the
was the
first.
Amiga.
That
But
was the
wait, so was
first
the Amiga. The thing
fucking
is,
yeah.
the Amiga never really was really caught up in the race with these other computers at the time.
I mean, there's some.
Sega's time was numbered as a business, so them going into the software and saying, "Well, we got these hits,
Makes
we
more
got famous
sense.
characters," it did
What
make.
really fucked up Sega
And it would make
is
sense for Nintendo too, because Nintendo's generational a
All dead.
reputation.
They're all
They've
dead or old like
invented.
me.
They
what
have
fucked
this
up
whole
Sega.
Disneyland world of characters that is their real asset.
What
The
fucked up
only thing that's
Sega,
not going
and
for Nintendo is the nostalgia. That's it,
it
and that's
is
not
kind
going
of
to
a
last much longer.
parallel, and it is
It's
kind
going to
of a
go down.
parallel to Nintendo now. Is Sega what really fucked them over is they never released a console at the right fucking time.
Yeah.
And
They
when they did, it
always
was complete
picked.
shit. I.e.
Yeah,
Dreamcast.
yeah. They either released no, Dreamcast was actually
Yeah.
pretty good.
I've got one. It's still sat in my room in a box with Shenmue.
It never
Trust
got
me,
a full
it's
set of games,
it's a good
though.
console, but what I'm saying is,
It never got a good full set of games, though.
it was shit.
So-
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
because
shit.
like a month later, Sony was like, "Oh yeah, like the PlayStation 2 is already
You
finished,
can
and
only
we're releasing it."
sell so many versions of Sonic before it gets boring. Put it that way.
Sony has killed like two gaming companies. They killed Atari
Definitely.
with the
Yeah, they cleared
PlayStation
out the
1.
whole. I think they cleared out. They're one of the reasons. Yeah, no, Sony is an interesting thing because I also think that they made the best machine during that era, but that seems
He
to be
did.
over as well. Yeah.
They made the Sega Genesis, man. It was fucking awesome.
No, Sony. I mean, they cleared
Oh
out
no,
the space with some
when
superior
PlayStation
machines.
came
I
along,
mean,
that was it. New kid on the block. It
or
was
we
like,
had an
bye-bye.
Xbox. Now we have this PlayStation. I keep forgetting the
It is
number, but
hilarious that the
4 or
PlayStation 1, because if you look into the history of it, it's basically just half of a failed attachment that never went through. And Sony was like, "Fuck, we've spent all this money, just fucking release it as is."
And it destroyed. I think it sold like billions of copies. Well,
Yeah,
machines.
because originally, like Sony and Nintendo were working on like a CD attachment for the Super Nintendo, and the president of Sony like went fucking crazy. It was like basically demanded all of the rights to like the Nintendo games, and Nintendo was like, "Fuck off."
Mm-hmm.
And so Nintendo just left Sony with all just the play with like the CD half, and that became the PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's why the
I
first
vaguely remember something like that. Wait, you're saying so Sony was making a machine with who?
Nintendo. But
that's right.
Before that, Nintendo and Sega were owned by the same company. I told Napalm this.
Well, see, that's how Nintendo could stay around. Is like make something with Alienware, and since you make software, you could go ahead and make a Nintendo machine with Alienware or something. Make it a PC. Make software for it. It wouldn't matter if it was a $3,000 gaming machine because people could still play your new games on other PCs. And you know what I mean? It wouldn't have to be like you're driving down that price point. I'll buy it for Buster.
No, but the thing is, right? If you look at Sega, right, what they've done now, Sega's gone, oh yeah, we're going to make games for fucking every platform. That's how you make money. If you just well, you got to just play this on
Well,
this.
here's the other
People are
thing,
like,
too.
oh,
That's
fuck
why
that
the
shit.
platforms are over, is because
Yeah.
it's always been the Microsoft model of it's actually better to be software.
Yeah.
Here's also the other thing with Sega too is unlike a lot of companies, they listen to their fans and they're like, okay, this is what you want. Like, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah. I wish someone would fucking hurry up and release fucking
Like when they
3
bought Atlas, like a lot of people were worried because like Atlas makes a lot of weird, like kind of not
Decision.
mainstream games. Like they make good games, but like their games are kind of like they don't have like any mass appeal whatsoever. But like when Sega bought them, they're like, we're not changing a thing. Like we just like they make money, we want money. That's what we
give us money. Well,
Yeah.
that's why Sega's smart. They got out the market because they knew it was
Sega's
dead.
smart because they're one of the few game companies now who's willing to like try to appeal to like niche
Everybody.
audiences.
Yeah.
Like they're like, okay, let's appeal to everybody and also to like weird niche audiences, like the people who like weird
shit,
like weird JRPGs and shit.
Yeah, they don't care.
Or like weird sexual puzzle games.
It still sells.
This is the thing.
It still sells.
In the 80s was like a golden age. It was all Dig Dug and Pac-Man, everything abstract and weird.
Yeah, nobody
real
knew
kind of
what
trippy.
to do.
No,
That's
and
why,
then
like,
it went in. Then it went into realistic 3D models of various genres that would be overdone, and now everything's fucking. It's hippie time again. You can make a video game about being Depression Quest or whatever, and whether that's a good game or not. Yeah, whether that's a good game or not, I think it's awesome. There's a total golden age, of being creative and doing all kinds of crazy shit that we used to do.
That's because PCs rock. That's why
Which is
PCs will always
hilarious.
be better than any console because we are the guys who make the fucking games.
Like they'll have those racist games or whatever that come out when there's some sort of event or there's some crazy. I mean, that even as a liberal, while I'm against these kinds of sentiments and games, I think that kind of chaos is good because in reality, games should just be like graffiti. There should be every fucking kind of game for every kind of graffiti or painting or mural that anybody would do. Beautiful ones, shitty ones.
It's a lot like anime.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, no, anime is a good example of like what a
Like
wide
they have
spectrum
anime
of stuff,
for like mid-age housewives and businessmen and like young girls and
carefully done and then shit done where they have a bunch of slaves in a shop drawing big-eyed people, frame by frame as slaves versus Miyazaki. Yeah, a wide range in quality and target and everything. And really, games should get to that point.
Animation, games right now, the game industry makes a shed load more money than the movie industry. Look at Grand Theft Auto 5. It cost $250 million to make it. That thing sold $1 billion in a day. $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's basically 7 times whatever.
See, that's the double edge of like gaming right now. Is like the mainstream of it is
that's
kind
what
of crap and derivative.
That people want to play. You're gonna get
in the 90s. That's what ruined it for me. Is because the turn came then. We weren't making more than Hollywood yet. But there was a bunch of money and successful and millionaire kind of game companies, people, and it had attracted basically Hollywood-type producers that, it's so annoying. That I could tell you a bunch about the way they think.
I wish more gamers who wanted to get into the game industry would get in it on the business side or the legal side, because that would help out fucking immensely.
But isn't this happening a little bit? I mean, you have this indie movement where all kinds of weird motherfuckers are getting into it. Just like you had in the rock and roll era, you had a lot of weird motherfuckers that were also business, Bill Graham in California and these people that were the crossover between something cool and something business, and it's the indie game and indie, kinds of movements that cause that, right? I mean, you probably don't remember this, but Electronic Arts, I remember when it started.
My friend used to work in Austin, Texas.
Bill Budge, the guy that did Ultima, I think was involved. It was a bunch
I remember he hated Nintendo.
it was like United Artists. United Artists started to get the artist off, to get the money guys off the back of the artists. And it was kind of a union to them. Electronic Artists was the same kind of thing, with a bunch of people that were heroes to those of us who in the early 80s were playing their little alphabet
Activision
games.
Started that way too.
I forget about Activision, but I do remember Activision was a high-quality place. They made games that that pushed the machines that they were on. Like, we got, what? Even though now it looks hokey. But Electronic Artists was like that. They made some of the best games, and yet industry and the moving in of MBAs from Harvard and these people that are educated to be producers, they don't like being original. They like copying.
I think the guy who runs Nintendo America is like a guy he used to run Pepsi.
Oh, well, that's just like
weird.
Yeah, that's weird now. I mean, with the whole Apple thing, that's just like, are you a joke? Was there a Jewish rabbi and a priest walking into a bar with this guy? Or?
And like sometimes, because like I don't know, I forget the name of it, but Nintendo's original president, when they started making video games, he never fucking played any of the video games. But like whenever somebody would bring in, like whenever the Nintendo internal teams would bring in the games they were testing, he could just look at them and be like, "That one will be a success."
Yeah, and that one's shit.
And that's how like we got like Legend of Zelda and like, Kirby and Metroid and shit, because he was just like, something about this one.
Yeah. But that's what you need someone with a bit of like, would I play that? Probably. Does that look cool? Probably.
Well, you know, sometimes that can work, right? Often that's just an asshole that shouldn't be in that position, but sometimes a guy that really understands that the color of the box
is a nice color.
Yeah, it's like, oh, people are going to buy that. And it's like, maybe it'll be shit and people won't buy it, but if it's a good game, he's right. That box will get them to try it.
Yeah. You know what's actually hilarious is that guy actually has a famous quote where he said, like, the console is just a box somebody buys to play Mario. Yeah. That's all it is. Like, the console really doesn't matter. It's the game.
I got a Wii, and because I like free motion, I don't like controllers. There are hardly no games that I could play on it that were any decent with that thing, except for Mario Kart. Yes, it was our Mario Kart machine.
Come on, Mario Kart is like legendary.
Look, I was here in Maine when they finally discontinued and wouldn't let the old Wii's log into Mario Kart, those fuckers. But, I mean, seriously, when you look back, it's like, wow, I bought a used Nintendo to play Mario Kart, and I played Mario Kart with it for like 6 years. That's kind of a, you know, it was really fun. I wish I had that motherfucker.
Yeah, the Wii, like, to me, like, it had so much promise at the beginning.
I also played
was like,
to be honest, it is a shitty name, though. I think part of the problem with the sales was the amount of stick it got over the name was just bad. Like, who the fuck calls the console piss?
Well, part of the problem...
It's English for piss.
Yeah.
Like, Nintendo was
Japanese bad translator. Oh, what do we call our new console? Oh, we're gonna go with we. Obviously, they didn't have an English guy in the room, because I would have said, "Are you fucking shitting me? You might as well just call it piss." And they'd be like, "Piss? Yeah. What is?" Yeah, you know, urine. You know, you could have just called it the fucking urine.
No, like when the Wii was first going out and shit, they're like, "We're going back to our like more arcadey roots and shit." Like, you know, it's not about like graphics and shit. It's about how fun fucking games are.
Yeah,
and like
all the games that they sold to people like me, we're old now, dude.
And like for 6 months, it was like they released like some good games, and then like they just went to other shit because everything just became about waggling the Wiimote.
How long are we really since an original generation, right? Because the most recent generation,
we're not.
The most recent generation is a bunch of upgrades. I guess they did a bunch of stuff in the PlayStation, but I don't really notice it.
The last time.
But the Xbox and the Wii 1 or whatever, those are just upgrades. Those are
the last time.
But what is it, like 15
Wait, I'm going to tell you. The last time we had a console that came on the market that was completely different was the fucking Sony PlayStation. That, since I've been a gamer, was the only... No, well, since I've been around Nintendo and all... I mean, well, I played the Amstrad, right? I used to play on the...
Wii was new, and wasn't the... Okay, so wait, the PlayStation right now is the 4, right? I thought the PlayStation 3 was significant over the 2. I guess.
No, they're all the same fucking bullshit. When it first came on the market,
What's
we
the
had
one that
Nintendo
plays
and Sega.
Blu-ray? Doesn't the PlayStation? Which one
It was
plays Blu-ray?
PlayStation pioneered Blu-ray because they basically
On
said
3.
unless you
Yeah, on
give us
3. No,
Blu-ray.
that machine was pretty amazing. I would say that would count. But the Wii, other than that, the Wii, which was really different, and they didn't have that many games for it, but they had enough. But mostly from Nintendo. I mean, I tried a bunch of games, GameStop used game, and mostly they're all shit. I played just Mario Kart, and then I played Call of Duty because I don't like using a controller for first-person shooters.
Yeah, that's one thing Nintendo dropped the ball huge on with fucking the Wii was like first-person shooters. It's like, come on, like this console was like made to at least try to fucking make a
and it was
first-person
good
shooter.
at it. It was accurate enough to do it really well. I mean,
But they own so much good IP as well that they could just turn them into 3D games, right? The only one they bothered
it pisses me off with like
was
the
fucking
Wii U.
Zelda. The only one game, in fact, 2 games. The only 2 games they ever changed from 2D to 3D, fucking Mario and Zelda.
Yeah.
How many fucking other games do you have in your fucking library? Thank you very much.
That was a cool Mario game, though. I don't really enjoy Mario, even the Super Nintendo one I played.
They changed more than their game.
But wait, that Mario Worlds where you were on a 3D thing, that was great. I love it when they really
Mario Galaxy
head like that. Yeah, and you're upside down and shit. I like it, because Nintendo's good at that. Every once in a while, they make some psychedelic. Well, Mario itself is psychedelics. Like you eat mushrooms and then you get bigger.
Well, look what they did with Sega. Did
Really?
Sega did the exact same thing with their flagship. Ooh, let's send Sonic 3D. Fucking massacre the fucking game.
Yeah, Sonic was totally one of those things where they obviously copied the Mario idea, but they put something new in, and it was pretty good. I played a couple of the high speed Mario, basically.
I mean, what the fuck? So we can't get a 3D Mega Man? I've never seen a 3D Mega Man.
I know, isn't it weird? They really aren't mining.
There's someone out there who watches this video fucking make a 3D
you know what?
Mega
I
Man?
could tell you tons
of 3D Mega Man.
There's even more games you guys don't remember that could be recycled. Mule.
Yeah, Golden fucking Axe, for fuck's sake. Make a 3D Golden fucking Axe.
No, it's funny. They
did.
They did?
Yeah,
I never
remake that one. That's right.
It couldn't have been that good.
But there's a lot of things. Dragon Slayer. There's a lot of things.
I'm sure they made a copy of Shinobi.
See, that's the problem with like certain games is like.
I know. Here we are, gamers, going. They should reuse the old shit we like.
Well, that's the problem.
That we usually bitch about.
Yeah, we got.
I think this works better.
There's a whole classic era. I mean, for that matter, there should be 3D and super futuristic 21st century Pac-Man and Dig Dug and Frogger and Tetris.
Did you see that guy?
They tried to make 3D Tetris and it just broke everybody's head.
Yeah, that failed. Yeah. Did you see them 2 brothers? I don't know where they're from. I think they're probably from the US. They made some beautiful 2D side-scroller, but they did it in the style of 1950s cartoons. Fucking looks awesome. And they drew it themselves and all that shit, like all the artwork. 2 brothers, I think it was. It looks fucking beautiful. It really does.
But like, the problem with certain old games is like they just work better as their older version.
They just literally do it. The best game I've ever played was Flashback. That's it. I mean, seriously.
This is the thing that bugs me a lot. This is the thing that bugs me a lot, Napalm. You played a bunch of old games. I guess you have an emulator. You know about emulators, or I don't know how you played those back when you were doing that. But
I play them on the PlayStation 3 or on the Wii.
Play them on the original machine. Well, I was doing, for a while, you could do emulators. You could easily get ROMs for every 80s arcade game, Joust,
Flashback.
Whatever.
Yes,
you could get every, Apple II game, anything. And then they locked down on it, and they came out with these things like there's, if you've ever seen, you can buy for $20 a thing that looks like an Atari 800 joystick, and it's got all these games built in or whatever. But mostly, a few of them, Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Galaxa or whatever. And the rest of them, though, they're just frozen. Nobody wants to sell them. Nobody's doing anything with them.
Yeah,
but
that's
they
the
managed
fucking
to
problem. Nobody wants to
because they're going to sell 5% of them.
Bastards.
Yeah, it's like if they're not selling it, it's like, hey, where is the library? We should be able to play these old games. That's right. They don't need to be remade. Let's just be able to play.
Give us them how they fucking wear. I don't give a fuck as long as they wear.
Nobody's using them. Can't there be a rule where when you get 1,000-year copyright like they want, but if somebody drops the ball and doesn't care about Alphabet anymore, then let me fucking play Alphabet.
There should be a fucking like a rule that says if you don't give a fuck, then the consumer should be able to play for free. Or at least, I don't know, 50 pence or something. Just give us a penny.
Right, even if the copyright holder is allowed to start selling it later and stop you from giving it away for free, fine.
Yeah, but let us play it, you twats.
Exactly, yeah. I think so too. It's part of our culture. It's like we can't tell our kids, hey, you should read Moby Dick. Here's Wizard of Oz. We cannot tell our kids here's a cool Wizard of Oz book because instead it's Ultima 1 and it's not available anymore. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
There's a guy on YouTube called Accursed Farm, and he does a thing called Ross's Game Dungeon, and his newest episode is about a game called Dark Spore, which is online only, and it's being killed. And it's like, why? Why would they do this? Why would you make a game?
Don't want fucking money from it. So I'm not getting any money. They just everyone's so greedy.
Well, here's the thing. It's a single-player game. It's a single-player online-only game. There's no fucking multiplayer in it.
Greedy. That's all. It's just greed, man. Like, seriously. Like, I just
talked about this shit before because, like, EA's done it.
There should be some law that says if you play games or make games or whatever, there should be some law. If you neglect your intellectual property after a certain amount of time, it should go into the free play bin.
Yeah.
And if you want to complain about it, then it gets taken out the bin, and then you should do something about it.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
That's really
even if it was fucking made in the fucking 80s, people still want to play it.
Because at least it would make sure that things didn't get lost.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's my childhood, for fuck's sake. I want my memories back.
Because I don't know how well the public domain applies to old video games and stuff. Like I know there's abandonware and shit
none of it's
stuff like that, but abandonware isn't.
Hardware's abandonware. The company that made it, Software Refinery, went broke. They made one of the best
a lot of
games
abandonware.
ever.
But abandonware isn't an actual legal binding thing.
And there's no software that's old enough to escape the perpetually extending Disney copyright law where nothing older than Mickey Mouse is allowed to go into the public domain.
In gaming there is. There's a game called Hardware, which is awesome. Hardware. I'm not joking with you. I've
what
got
do you mean? There's public domain, but there's no copyright that's expired.
The guy
in the U.S.
The guy who was a coder for Hardware literally coded the updates in his free time for fanboys like me, right? Who loved the game when it first came out. I actually went to my friends and got stoned. I went to my friends and got stoned. He was like, dude, check out this fucking game. And he was like, and honestly, it's like 8 bits of 3D graphics, but it's fucking awesome.
I think at that point, it becomes freeware.
Yeah, it's free. But it's abandoned. It's like the company can't sue you because there's no fucking company to sue me anymore. So people just rip it apart at this point.
Well, somebody could collect it up. Yeah, so there's a lot of good examples of that, which is just the organic process of people using the stuff. There's also examples like Transportation Tycoon Deluxe that got decompiled into source code, turned into open TTD,
and now everybody's doing it.
And Chris Sawyer, who's one of these legends, like a Sid Meier of video gaming from the old days, he doesn't like it, but he never did anything about it.
Yeah,
and as a result, one of his masterpieces is going to live forever because, again, even though it does kind of have isometric graphics. Even though it's isometric graphics, it's so intricate now, and the worlds can be so big. It's a great game, and he's going to benefit as an artist for sure. Could he have made money and done that? I don't know. Would people have bought this whole game?
I seen SimCity in the shop. It was being demoed on a PC, SimCity, and I was just boggled. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I can make a city, and that just boggled my
that's my
mind,
kind
you
of
know.
game.
And that's why I love
That's
SimCity.
why
I
how do you
remember the
not
first
like
day I seen it, I was
Minecraft
like,
then?
wow.
How do you not like Minecraft? It's the ultimate construction game.
It
You
just,
get
you
to
know
make
what?
Legos and then
No,
live
no,
inside.
that's why I hate it, because I love Legos. It's like it just makes you want to literally go to town and buy Legos. I know that sounds really
Yeah.
stupid, but I don't want to do it virtually. I literally that was like one of my favorite things as a kid, Lego. In fact,
Yeah.
it was. That's the
Well,
only thing
Minecraft
I
is
fucking played
totally
with
the adult
Legos.
version for me because it's
I
like
was
Legos.
What you
You
want for
always
Christmas?
pretend you're
Lego.
at a construction site. I'm always like, I'm at a construction. Anyway, Minecraft. Those are my kind of games. I like where you build. Though that's another one where, boy, an American company is really fucked up. You know, they went into The Sims. They've done shit all with SimCity for 15 years. But there is a remedy that's from this Finnish company, I think it is, the City Skylines.
Yeah,
That
well,
is that's the update. You know, the roads don't have to be straight. You can name everything. It's half Sims, half SimCity. Like Sims was supposed to be. It
well,
was
yeah, you know
plug
what?
in.
That's the thing that I don't like. They made it too complex. I used to love cheating in SimCity because what you do, right? You just build a giant pyramid and put loads of water dams on, or hydroelectric dams. So you just build a big giant pyramid in the corner of your map. That's all the power you need.
Yeah.
No pollution whatsoever. Just a
Yeah.
big giant pyramid, and then build a city. And I was like, yes.
Well, you know what? I always
And
cheated
then they
in
removed them in
SimCity.
SimCity too.
SimCity was always good about having cheat codes, right? You didn't have to even hack it. But this City Skylines is so good, you can't. There's a creative mode, but you don't even want to. It's more fun to play it at the speed that the game provides, which is a really good sign. It's hard to make a game that's so well
That's the thing I always hate about SimCity is like there's a lot of waiting.
Yeah, SimCity at its regular speed is not that much fun, though I played it a bunch that way because I love these kind of games, but it's more, I like the sandbox mode, which what I like about Minecraft is creative mode is too creative. It's boring. Who cares? I could choose bricks. But in survival mode, it's fun to be creative. The limitation, it's kind of like painting. You know, you don't just paint with every color and acrylics and watercolors and oil. You choose oil, and I'm going to do blues and some reds. You know, you limit yourself, and a good game is where you achieve that. It's the limit. Cheating's no fun. It's no fun to play Monopoly just like I'm pretending to be on a road and moving around. You got to play by the rules because that actually makes it better. And sandbox games, you know, often I have just same thing with Transportation Tycoon. I mean, I totally put in the cheat and build what I want. It's a model train, you know. It's a model train, not a game, really. But yeah, when you can have both is the best. When it's tuned right down to you don't want to.
I'm on Steam right now. I want to see what game to buy. Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground
Why did you
Zero,
get Golden Axe for free?
Hitman. I've already got Hitman.
And 2 other games.
Pre-purchasing early access. That's for $10.
Well, this game I want to play, I'm sure one of you has mentioned this, but where they're simulating, it's an infinite world game, but it's more photorealistic than like the infinite world in Minecraft, and it's simulating like a whole galaxy worth of planets and stars, and I forget the name. Do you guys know does either of you know what I'm talking about? It's gotten a bunch of press.
Sounds familiar.
It was even in the New Yorker, and they're just generating all of the terrain, but instead of generating, you know, like Minecraft looks pretty good, but it's all this pixelated. They're generating, you know, modern 3D looking terrain, and it's infinitely sized because it's mathematically based. I think there's a lot to do with that kind of game.
There's some kind of vector fucking weird shit.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is they figured out how to generate worlds. It's difficult enough to generate a world, and I imagine they could do that. Of course, if it's a fun game, depends what do you put in the world, you know? What do you do inside the world? But on the other hand, you know, I'm into just exploring 3D art that's generated mathematically, so I mean, there's a novelty to that, but
I was like making little towns and shit. That's why I like Starbound.
Is that it? Starbound sounds right.
No, Starbound's 2D.
Oh, generated 3D Galaxy game. Oh, I don't know what it is. It also sounded like the kind of game that might never be released because they almost had a scientific kind of, the guys are in their head, all the programmers are creating an alternate universe. It's like it could be, sometimes those games don't get pulled off because people have such a, they have just their goals too extreme.
Oh, I just want to spend $10 right now on the new Hitman game, but I won't. God damn it. It's supposed to be like constantly online.
Why would you do that? That's dumb.
Yeah, I'm on Steam. They just like to take my money. What can I say? Motherfuckers.
Yeah, here it is. It's No Man's Sky.
Have you did that?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it's an artificial universe, and the screenshots are like, they look
they
look like sci-fi art.
Yeah, you can literally fly onto planets and shit. Yeah, I read of
and
that.
It's like Minecraft, where when the planets don't exist, they're ready to be generated, mathematically. Yeah, so it's an infinite universe.
It looks pretty fucking awesome, actually.
Yeah, if they pull
the
off
graphics aren't too bad, actually, as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty great for a procedurally generated thing. I mean, the best procedurally generated thing I've ever seen before was probably Minecraft, and it obviously had to go with this 8-bit thing, whereas this game is like, no, it's straight up, and, it's Call of Duty, Battlefield's right up to the, the mist, and, it looks good. Grass looks like grass, and snozberries taste like snozberries and whatnot. Uh-oh, I'm stuck on my mat here. So you guys aren't really the crowd for talking about economics. That's what I was going to talk about.
Well, I like economics.
No, I can't. I stopped.
I
don't know.
Well, it's just that this guy I was reading, a lot of stuff clicked about, because basically he said economics is simple in a way that I thought, ordinary people and people that understand computers could understand, kind of thing, where, you got labor, land, and capital. And part of the thing he says that's cool is that it's not really labor versus capital. That's like one of these bullshit. You need labor and capital. The problem right now is labor and capital versus land, because capital is not money. Capital is anything you use to make money. So like if you are a printer and you have a printing press, capital, money is one kind of capital, but really capital is more like the printing press. Once you spend the money on the printing press, then use it to print shit for exchange, that's capital. Now, if somebody loans you a printing press and you're a printer, obviously they deserve some interest, money for loaning you the capital. The thing is, the landlord, all they have to do is hold on to a piece of paper, and then they get more and more money every year. And the reason is because when we have technological advantages, instead of the benefit of the general benefit of that technological advantage, it doesn't go to the capitalist like the socialists would tell us. It doesn't go to labor, we know that. It's going into land prices, and your rent goes up, including if it's not rented and you just sell your land for profit. The cost of the land, renting the land, that's where all of our progress is going. So it seems really simple, because how is that not true? The rent keeps going up. The rent when I was a kid would have been fine for me, but no, it's 4 or 5 times more than it was when I was a kid. It always keeps up, so that the people, are struggling It's the minimum that people would accept, and the reason is because the rent takes the money first, then capitalists and the labor's weaker of that, but both of them have to take what's left over from the rent, and rents, instead of a $500 apartment when I was a kid in New York, it's $3,500. And you have no choice but to pay it, and that's the tax. We're paying a tax to individuals, and all they have to do, communists might hate capitalists, but the capitalist is actually giving you the fucking printing press. He could have sold the printing press, bought some rabbits, and had 50 times the number of rabbits by the time he had got his printing press back and eaten the rabbits. So, of course, he deserves some money for loaning you this valuable resource. But how the fuck does the landlord deserve anything for just having a piece of paper that the government will even keep track of if they lose it? It's not. And so the end result is that he says, and this is a great idea, we should pay no taxes, no sales tax, no income tax, no tariffs, nothing, only a land tax. If you don't like paying taxes, move out to the country where land is cheap and your taxes will be almost nothing. But if you want to live in New York, yeah, you might pay a little bit of land tax. And see if the rich people leave New York or if they just pay the fucking tax. They would just pay the fucking tax.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like the whole myth is like, well, they'll run away. No, they fucking won't. They can afford it.
Yeah, no, and the ones that want to run away, good for you. Go to Montana. Build. If you're a billionaire and you say, I'm not paying New York taxes, I'm going to move to Nevada, to Montana. You probably bring a whole city with you. You'll have people working with you. You'll create an economy in a little town out in Montana, which will make the price of land go up. You'll pay a little more taxes.
Where the fuck are you gonna go? Yeah.
Well, no. How far do you have to go? I mean, it's still going to be a lot cheaper than New York.
Yeah, go and live in China. See how that works out for you, cunt. Until the election.
Right, but I think there's something fair to it because it's a progressive tax. But if somebody says, well, in principle, I don't want to pay taxes because I don't want to pay for the Iraq war, they could go out and pay virtually no taxes if they're willing not to live where. And that makes sense because, look, if you are living in New York but don't want to pay for the Iraq war, you're full of shit. I mean, the Iraq war is in your gas price, it's in everything.
Yeah.
But if you move out to the country, then good for you. And the other thing too is his deal is if you build a 100,000 or 10,000 square foot house, you're not taxed for that. You're just taxed for the unimproved stuff. That house would belong to you.
But he's just, you just said, he's just made a little mini economy because all the people who have to build that shit.
Now, I looked it up. The value of real estate in the United States, just houses, is like $12 trillion.
Yeah, it's insane. The
United States, you could tax such a little bit of money, and someone like me, if I was lucky enough to buy my house, I could pay 30% a year property taxes if I had no income tax, and I'm totally fine.
Yeah.
So and that's true of everybody. I mean, everybody that's worried about, but I'd like to own a house. Yeah, but you're going to pay less in taxes for your house. Why? Where's the difference come? The difference comes from Donald fucking Trump. He can only make money at running apartment buildings. He cannot rent because he owns that square foot of land in New York. He can still rent an apartment in a building he built. That's just like if he built shoes and he's selling shoes. That's fine. But the actual land, when it goes from being worth $10,000 unimproved to $50,000 to $1 million unimproved, he's going to be paying tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars on it, and it's actually totally fair.
Well, he makes a loss. That's why he's become bankrupt 4 times, for fuck's sake. And he was like, well, I didn't go bankrupt. I just,
I know. You know what? The other people are so stupid. If there was another Trump on the stage, when he said I didn't go bankrupt, Jeb Bush Trump would have said, well, when your business that you run goes bankrupt in the regular world, Donald, we call that going bankrupt. The fact that you were insulated, that's not what I'm talking about. But no, they didn't pick it up. He's like 5 steps ahead of them. But, I've decided he's the best Republican anyway, even though, I'm all Bernie.
Feel the band, bitches. Feel the band.
Yeah. But among the Republicans, I mean, Trump's got things going for him. I mean, how many Republicans would be on the stage going, motherfucking Bush lied, asshole?
Yeah, I know, right? That was insane. When I seen that, I was like, whoa, a Republican, well, so-called Republican.
And he didn't lose anything in the polls. I don't know how close you guys follow, but I followed. You can see when there's dips right after, they do a poll right after, and it's pretty indicative. No drop whatsoever. No. None. Not even in very militaristic South Carolina. That's a mind blower.
Everybody knew he was telling the truth. That war was a fucking scam. Yeah. End of story. You must have to be.
But it means there must have been a bunch of Republicans down there that were like, would never say that out loud themselves, but watched it and said, you know, honey, that sounds offensive, but he's right. And it must be because in any other election that would have cost the guy at least 5 points. Or just probably dropped him down, cost him 20, 30 points, put another front runner in place. He not hit. If there was anybody that dropped out, somebody else, picked up for him. It's amazing, our politics this year. But, I hope at this point it's Trump versus Bernie. And if Bernie doesn't make it, I would have to say Trump's no worse than the rest of the Republicans. But I might leave the country. But, that's a lot of...
I'm going to leave Earth if a Republican gets in.
Did you hear about this? Actually, there's this guy.
Did you hear? I will volunteer for any space mission. Get me off this planet.
Did you see there was this viral thing where some guy in Canada was like, hey, if Trump's elected, Americans, you should come up to this particular remote island in Canada. And there's been like a 10,000% rise in visits from America to this island and stuff. It's like, no, this is a good business if you have a little web idea. This is the kind of thing where you have a little gimmick and make $1 million. But, the escape. What if Ted Cruz wins?
Oh, jeez.
Here's a way to escape a lottery. You pay $100, and 100 of you, will pay for you to move to Ecuador or whatever. I don't know, some sort of a thing. Because this day, that's how American politics are. I have a lot of friends. I'm not the only one that goes, which of these guys would I want to emigrate if you were president? And it's like, well, luckily it's only half of them. Only half of them. We got a 50-50 chance. We don't have to leave.
No, I definitely think a Democrat's going to win. I don't want Hillary to win, but if she gets a nomination, fuck yeah, everybody vote for fucking Hillary.
Yeah,
I don't want it. I don't want
it. A lot worse.
Bernie Sanders to win. He's the only one who says the fucking truth.
She's
Bernie
George
Sanders
Bush.
tells the truth.
She's George Bush or Obama. I think she's bad, but at least she's not burned down the country bad. Burn down the country and piss on the ashes bad.
Hillary's probably going to be slightly worse Obama.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would say.
I mean, fuck.
In certain respects, worse. In other respects, maybe
just conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Forgive her that. That's the only thing.
That's a funny thing too. How they say, well, Bernie won't get anything done.
That's the only thing that really worries me about
Bernie won't get anything done. You think the Republicans are going to cooperate with Hillary, you guys?
No,
Bernie has a better record of cooperating with Republicans than Hillary by a long shot.
Yeah.
My fear is like the how fucking negative this shit's starting to get on the Democratic side.
Nah, it's fine. It's healthy.
I mean, maybe, but it's like it's starting to get like really fucking ugly.
Well, like
and
what?
It's just like,
What part do you think is the ugly part?
They're getting negative on the issues, though, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
it's not actually between them.
Well, I think like the Bernie bro thing is pretty bad, and the people that are all anti-SJW, goddamn Hillary feeds into that because she is one of these people that will go like, look, he's sexist. She did the same thing against Obama.
Yeah, she's called him black. Oh, he's a nigger.
Pulled out Bill.
I'm going to vote for him, but I'm a woman. She did the same thing.
Yeah, she pulled out the bill. So, I mean, I think that's kind of negative. Mm-hmm. But Bernie's been really good about, not trying to undermine Hillary if she's the
really
nominee.
Not so much them.
He always tries to
Hillary is running kind of negative. But
he always, what Bernie does. Bernie just points out, look, I'm an old-ass man. I know the system, and it's corrupt, and it's full of shit. We need to change it, and the only way you're going to change it if you get off your ass and vote. That's what he's saying.
Really, it's
Is she bad? Yes. Is she better
than the assholes
fucking hell yes.
in both of their bases? Like, it's just like... I just hope it's not like a case where like when one of them loses, like the other side is like, well, I'm not voting now, because it's like, why would you do that? Like, why would you let any of these Republicans?
More women in New Hampshire voted for
you
Bernie
guys.
Sanders than they did.
I'm guessing neither one of you followed this Oregon standoff thing with the Yahal.
Oh, I did.
Didn't they arrest
You
that?
see when they fucking
Yeah.
You see the one brother's on the run.
Oh no, really?
Oh,
yeah.
Ryan? They arrested Ted Bundy.
No, the one with the weird.
It's not Ted Bundy.
Not Ryan Bundy, but the one with like the weird, not Amon, but like the other one with the weird name.
Right. So not the two that went up to Oregon. So did you see how they were having live feeds, and like for the last couple of days, this guy Gavin Syme was live feeding them with this Nevada assemblywoman and everything, and it was amazing. So the fourth guy didn't go. Tell me if you heard any of this, Nabal. So the fourth guy, there were four of them, and three of them went when they waited an extra day.
He was like, I'm gonna
and
blow
one
my
of them
fucking
held
brains
out
out.
for an extra couple hours. He's on the phone talking about the gun to his head. I'm in tears because I have PTSD about life and death now with what I've been through and stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't want this guy to die. But the thing is, it was so weird. In the end, he was talking about his grievances, among which were, first of all, he wanted these people to stop talking to him like he was a Christian because he's a Messianic Jew, which is a Jew for Jesus. Wow. Two, he brought up a couple weird right-wing things, but he also said, what about pot? I'm from Idaho or Iowa. It's like fucking pot. He's talking to these people. They keep saying, hey, put your trust in God and be courageous. And he's like, what about my pot? You know, and it was just so big. And then also he knew he'd finally broken the law. Mind you, all three of them were allowed to go without charges if they just go. One of them had a charge, and all four of them were like, fuck you, and then all four of them ended up with the charge. So he had taken this charge, and he's like, he did not want to be raped in the ass in prison. And it's like, well, that's pretty reasonable. And I don't think that if you're civilly disobedient on a civilly disobedient thing, I don't agree with, because I think it was bullshit for them to take over this federal land. You shouldn't get raped in the ass for it. As a matter of fact, even if you're a rapist, you shouldn't get raped in the ass for it. I know it's harder to figure that one out, but really you shouldn't, right? And so, you know, this is a cruel and unusual punishment. People could stand up to their government without committing suicide if they didn't have to worry about getting raped in the ass. If it's just a matter of, well, shit, I'm going to have to go to jail and I won't be free.
It's not like that's a metaphor.
So I had a lot of sympathy for him, even though on the other hand, I'm talking to Vic about white trash and blah, 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 and I'm like, well, I think that's just a rude term about working class people. But then again, these guys were running their campsite, you know, that way with cigarette butts, and it's just fucking trash. So I have a lot of sympathy for these guys, even though I totally disagree. And I have no sympathy for the Bundy family. But I mean, like those last four people that were there, it's economic distress. It doesn't get along with your dad. It's why'd they take my pot away? Why, you know, because it was Iowa or Idaho that had a vote on legalized pot and voted it down.
You can imagine them over the phone with the FBI agent. Well, do you want to negotiate? Yeah. Legalized pot. That's.
Well, he was talking to this blog host. He was talking to this blog host and this representative, and he was about to blow his brains out talking to them because they were just manipulating him.
I love pot, but I wouldn't do that.
Called him, you know, a coward and stuff. And then finally, the FBI called him, and within a few minutes, the FBI, the professional, had talked him down. He was like, "Well, I want a pizza." He says, "Well, you have to say hallelujah." And then they said hallelujah, and he's like, okay, I'm going to have a cigarette and a Cokie, and then I'm out of here. And then he turned himself in. And frankly, he's just a 27-year-old guy, and he's I'm sympathetic to him. Well, you know, here's the thing. When I see somebody disenfranchised and confused, if they're right-wing, I mean, I have a similar sympathy. It's too bad they didn't figure out.
Yeah, the only fuckers I hope who get like busted on that shit are like the Bundys, obviously, and then whoever dug up like the Native American sites.
That's the main guy.
Because that was prickish.
Well, the thing about it that's good is that because I thought, look, they let Clive Kevin Bundy, the old dad, off of pointing guns at people. They let him keep his cattle. He's still been grazing without paying. And I thought, look, you got to have some law and order. It's all fine to not have Waco, but they actually arrested him, and I thought they were going to arrest him because he had said to the people in Oregon, hold out, and you can arrest someone for that. But no, they actually arrested him for the 2014 shit, which is good. Maybe they're, because you can't. I mean,
they're probably waiting. They're probably waiting for them to fuck up Rolly. So it's like, okay, we got this 2014 shit, and then we can just hit him with the 2015 and 2016 shit.
Yeah, I think that is true what they were doing. But the thing is, that's lucky because the other conspiracy theory would be let these guys do more Oregon stuff.
Because I saw an article.
Let them kill a few people. And then we'll be able to go in with FEMA and really wipe them out. We'll be able to go and, if we killed 40 more people, we could go wipe them out. So they're lucky that really they were just trying not to kill these idiots.
Yeah. You know what, dude? At the end of the day, man, if you take over an empty building, who the fuck gives a fuck at that point? I've seen an article, right? They're like,
yeah, but it wasn't really empty. No, they interrupted a lot of stuff that had to go on.
Dude, it was basically empty. I read the article on The Guardian. Someone was like, in fact, it was Brother John posted it. He was like, check these militants going crazy in America. I thought it was like a literal hostage situation. So I read it.
Yeah, no.
These morons took over the empty building in a nature reserve. I'm thinking, if I was the government, I wouldn't give a fuck either.
The problem, that's fine, and that is what they did, but the problem is they stayed long enough that they were fucking up all the projects in that area.
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, they got dams and water and all kinds of migrating birds and invasive fish and shit that, need to be handled, or else that place will get ruined, and it'll really set them back, which we will fix, and it'll cost money, and blah, blah, blah. So, they waited too long.
At that point.
And the weird thing too about it. Okay, go ahead, Napalm. Sorry.
Real quickly, I saw an article. I don't remember where it was, but they were like, "How this ended will probably not encourage people to try this shit again." Because
I would say
a lot of them,
because they were Muslims or blacks, that wouldn't have ended the same way.
Because here's the thing, like, fucking these fuckers wanted this to go down like Waco.
They did.
Yeah.
They were fucking nuts. They were threatening people.
If I was president, it probably would have gone down more like Waco because I was like, are you fucking kidding me? That's federal land. And what they did was actually smarter.
10 years minimum
the FBI, I don't like the CIA, and the FBI has things wrong with it, but the FBI often is really still the only police.
The FBI is the original cops. CIA are fucking clandestine fucking spies, basically.
And these guys are all like, they want to murder us, and outside we're like, no, it's actually looking pretty hard not to murder you, and they're doing everything in their power not to. They only got one of you motherfuckers. Yeah. I was ready for them to take 50% of all 40 of you assholes. So one is, but
crazy, man.
It was pretty interesting though. Also, just this whole internet thing of you getting messages from the inside. It's like when we attacked Iraq. The second Iraq war was the first time I'd really seen. You're reading bloggers if you want to from inside. There's shock and awe, and you're hearing about it from their side of it. That's so weird as a political activist. We never had that until I was 30 plus. You didn't hear from the enemy or the holdouts on the inside of a standoff. We've had these standoffs before.
And the madness of fucking the internet, isn't it? I mean, it gives people a voice, but it also gives crazy people a voice, which is kind of crazy.
But for example,
it's still good. It's still good at what it
because
does.
I found out, I thought these guys were all Bundy militia assholes, and no, a lot of them are just like, lost my job, my business isn't doing well, I'm living home still. They're disenfranchised like regular people. They're not just psychotic people that think they ought to graze their animals for free and be able to shoot federal agents. A lot of them are just ordinary people you'd fuck around, should be talking to us online, people with opinions. And so it gives an amount of sympathy. Now, that's part of the danger, right? Because why should I be sympathetic with these armed thugs? Well, because in reality, there's all different kinds of armed thugs. And
But that's the scary thing, is right. If we're gonna, if we as, I would say we're liberals in this room, right? On general, like we're
Probably,
kind of yeah. So as much as I hate racist people, would I ever want them to stop or will be forced to give their no? Because that same shit could be applied to me if I've got a disagreement.
Yeah.
So no, that's why freedom of speech.
Right, you got to
is so
support
important.
civil disobedience. And the weird thing too is those guys had this idea that it's a peaceful demonstration, but we bring our guns because that's a part of it. And it was so weird and ironic. But then you listen to them, and even the Bundys to a certain degree. You know, they didn't want to shoot anybody. They're just this weird idea. And so to actually listen to him, you realize this is a peaceful guy. In the end, he was going to shoot himself. He wasn't going to shoot a cop and have a cop shoot him. He would shoot himself or whatever. He didn't really want to kill anybody. The gun is
Didn't even want to kill himself. He was just
fetish.
He was just fucked up in the head. Because,
well,
because life can do that to you. Do you know that?
But the thing is, in America, the gun fetish, it actually does include people that don't want to kill anybody with the gun.
Yeah.
It's about their safety or something, or
look at that,
my personal space.
Well, look at that black kid, and I forgot what he was. He was in some fucking crazy state. Some black kid was pissed off. He shot himself outside the State House. Like, he could have easily went in there. He could have easily went in there and shot people.
And he left his suicide.
He pissed on the State House and then shot himself.
I pissed before I did this.
Yeah, and it was that, like, for me, that's like, well, there's a difference between somebody who wants to literally go and kill other people to make a statement, and people who want to kill themselves that make another statement, you know?
Well, right. Like, the epitome of that is that famous monk, and I was trying to remember if he was Cambodian or Vietnamese or whatever, but in the Vietnam War, you know, they had more than one, I guess, but there's this real iconic photo of a guy sitting in a tire lighting himself on fire, and he doesn't flinch or nothing.
Yeah.
And that really blew people's mind, that he could have that self-control, let alone that he was willing to die for a cause we didn't even admit was going on, and our incursion into Laos and all of this. And
Henry Kissinger for the win.
Yeah, the thing is, suicide, I don't think it's a good idea, but it is a very powerful statement.
It's a powerful message indeed. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Because to make the ultimate statement, I mean, look at suicide bombers. Do I agree with them? Fuck no, obviously. I wouldn't fucking, no, ISIS, stop it. Stop, okay? ISIS, stop.
You know what makes that illegitimate is they think they're going to get something in the afterlife. The most honest thing is when an atheist, or for that matter, a Buddhist that's kind of agnostic on what happens after, when they do it. Yeah, when they do it. And there's no reward, you didn't fool yourself into, But even if you are a Christian and you think you're going to get a reward or a Muslim,
don't kill yourself. And don't go around killing people.
There has to be some huge thing that is actually wrong for you to choose that. And it does prove something's fucking wrong. You might not understand what it really is.
But it fucking was real. Right?
Yeah, it was real, exactly.
That's why I think Gary's, like, on the edge. You know, when he, like, the thing with Gary Amendum, and, you know, we know him, I think with Gary is he cares so much that he turns depressive. Because if you watch some of his videos, right, he really does care about humanity and what's going on and animals. He cares. He cares so much that he gets confused and boggled.
My theory in the past is he really loved nature, and he thought, hey, it could all be good, and here's nature, and I'll go. And then he saw, you know, a mangy deer and a rat that was running along with maggots in it, and he was like, no, it's all fucked up. And he got super disillusioned by the fact that even well, no, I sense in him, like me, look how what he does, and even though he's housebound, he's not housebound. He goes out in nature, takes walks. He knows the value of just spending some time outdoors, right?
Just walking.
Yeah, he knows that.
He looks at plants, he grows plants, he does all this shit.
So I think he's a nature boy. And he found out that even in nature it's sad, and that was so much of a tragedy for him that he hasn't recovered for it. Yeah.
I think it was like, life's shitty. Why can't life just be nice? You know. But life, I mean, for me, right? Like any good play, or the Shakespeare or whatever, the beauty is the tragedy. You know. Like there's beauty in death, because you have to be alive, right? And I mean, I know you know this, right? In regards to when you lose a loved one, right? Yes, it's the worst thing you can possibly fucking imagine. It just is, right? But there's still a beauty in saying, well, it was created, you know, it did its job, blah 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 blah. You know, there's all these positives, good memories and all that shit, and they will always last. Okay, people die. People die every day, man. You know, in some tragic circumstances and some not so tragic circumstances, but people still fucking die. You know, look at David Bowie, for instance. I've never experienced well, I wouldn't say a hero, but someone I fucking loved his music, right, growing up.
Yeah.
The only other person I grew up loving their music was Bob Marley. He was already dead at this point, so I never really experienced that. John Lennon, the Beatles, they were all fucking dead. Or not dead yet, because there's still 2 left. But in regards to the experience, I was really tearful over that. And I was like, why the fuck am I getting emotional? And then I realized it's not because I knew him. It's because it's what the memories I think of when I listen to his music. That makes me emotional. That's why I cry. You know? So that's the weird thing. So life is a shitty thing. Yes, we can all agree. But to say it's pointless, no, that goes beyond that at that point. Because life isn't pointless. That's a subjective narrative at that point. No, you're not being objective. You're letting your emotions take control. A lion eats a gazelle. That's the way the universe works. If you can't deal with that shit, I'm sorry, but you probably should see a doctor.
Well, yeah, and also the thing is, our progress has made it so that every human being alive could be wealthy. Could be wealthy, basically, by, you know, our traditional standards. And could be easily making 3 or 4 times as much, and we'd still have just as many, you know, Koch brothers that were richer.
And dead people. You think
this is entirely possible, and it should have happened, right? Just like every cell in your body is wealthy.
Yeah.
Right? Some of them get,
but you still get cancer.
Some are in the surface. Yeah, some might get cancer. Nothing's perfect. Life is life, right? Yeah. Tragedy. But
that's the beauty of it, though.
Until all the human beings have a share of the wealth that we've created by being so safe and productive the last 100 years, 300 years, 1,000 years, you know, if we had that and we could see what it's like to, you know, make a living your whole life, and you're not rich and you wanted to be, but you had health care and all of this, and then we see what it's like, well, then we could see no, life still sucks or not because my auntie died of cancer. Well, let's just fucking see, because if we're not going to even try to do that, then we're not asking the question fairly whether life is worth living. Because this world, as a species, we all know we've fucking mastered it. We can live through tornadoes and hurricanes, and if some of us die in the hurricane,
there's still shitloads of us left.
And we rebuild right away, and we could rebuild something that we won't die in next time.
No, but we can understand it as well. That's the thing. That's the beauty of being a human. We know the game. That one Gary says, well, it's just a game. Yeah, but we're very aware what the game is. That's the point. That's why we have medicines, for fuck's sake. We try and prolong life. We don't go, oh, well, you're fucked, aren't you? Have a nice life. No, we send you to a hospital to try and save your ass because we know that death's a bad idea, right?
Well, you know, a funny thing about antinatalism is trying to talk to Gary recently again about physics, which I've been talking to him on and off for years, has made me just wonder, wait a second, is the antinatalism argument, is that as boneheaded as this physics argument? I mean, because the physics argument, it's like, it's been 4 years, so I'm saying something on it, but really, it's not worth taking seriously. I've always felt that though I disagree with antinatalism, it's worth taking seriously. But now I'm wondering, I mean, is it just as boneheaded as the idea that I'll tell you how, you know, optics works?
Well, the thing is, I was gonna do a video on one of his recent physics vids, and I literally said I'll deal with this video later, and I just thought, you know what? No, I'm not even gonna waste my fucking time, because every other statement you make is not even correct.
The thing is, I like Gary.
I like him too, but
and the thing is, I want to talk to him about it, and I would be happy to give him feedback on. Well, here's what the main
just rage. He will literally remember when we did the Black Sun thing.
I can't watch a 40-minute video entitled, Piro's a pisshead.
Yeah, but
I just can't do it. I don't have time anymore.
Remember when we did the Black Sun thing, Pyro? Remember that ages ago when we did the Black Sun? Is the sun black?
Of course I do.
Right?
Of course I do.
That was a good, funny exchange, right? Did we get heated about that? No. Did we give each other slight jabs? Yeah, probably. In a good-natured way.
Yeah, but not in a way that I couldn't watch it and try to do the video. However,
exactly right. Exactly.
But now it's just tedious. It's just tedious to listen to his version of the insults at this point. It's tedious.
That's the thing that he spoils himself. Maybe he's got good ideas. This is the thing. He ruins it by saying, "Oh, you're just a fucking idiot." Like, I'm sorry. Do you have a PhD? No. But then he says to other people, "You don't have a PhD," and I'm like. Well, what the fuck? Give people a break.
I know. I mean, I've been watching not just him, but a lot of people are pissed. A lot of these scientific conspiracy theorists, scientists are lying kind of people. They are fucking up in arms. I mean, Gary's not the only one. This gravitational waves thing
it's
really bothered a shit ton of them. It's hysterical.
Oh, I loved it.
I didn't know that was I didn't know that would be a sore point to them because really in regular physics, the idea of gravitational waves is unavoidable. I mean,
I'm sorry. This is the thing. Well, Einstein predicted that 100 years ago. I bet none of them fucking knew that was the case. It was Einstein's own prediction that we would find gravity waves.
The thing is, what we do know about what we do know about reality is such that there would have to be gravity waves.
Yeah.
And there would have to be gravitons, and even though it's one of the things we haven't seen, it's like, well, there has to be something like this graviton thing because you can't, if two objects are in space,
that is so fucking colossally.
They're pulling at each other gravitationally, right? But they're moving. Well, their gravitational influence can't communicate faster than the speed of light, according to Einstein. Nothing can. So there's a lag. And if one of the bodies is going in an accelerated frame, an arc, or it's colliding.
You get a wave.
It's the math. It's so simple, the math. And then the idea that there'd be gravitons is just because, well, we know everything seems quantized. If time and space are quantized, it affects everything because, gravity has space and time in it.
The reason why it was so massive is because...
I had no idea it'd be so surprising is all I was going to say.
We measure the universe basically using light, right? To put it simple, right? We use different wavelengths of light. Yeah, right? Or radiation, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's still fucking light for us, in a layman's term. This thing, that can pass through rocks, gas clouds, whatever you want to planets. It can go through them with ease. It's not restricted. It doesn't have any slowdown shit to it in that regards, right? Or any deviation.
I mean, Gary's, of course, totally the opposite theory.
Yeah, well, Gary's the fucking...
Well, yeah,
but we just basically invented a new telescope. Well, we didn't invent it. We just discovered a new version of listening to the universe. We could literally listen to the thing, and the measurement was astounding. It was basically like 1/5 of a micron of a fucking atom. Right?
You know what bugs me?
That's
Gary
so big, but
Gary
so tiny.
Yeah, it's very tiny. But Gary will ask. What bugs me is Gary will ask a good question, but he doesn't go look up the answer. I mean, there's the internet. It's not just YouTube. There doesn't have to be a video about it. He'll ask question of how do they know it's not a rabbit farting? Well, because they've dealt with that, and the first run was a failure because those are exactly what they're dealing with.
You know the ironic part is?
And so just look it up because the way they've designed it to point at space and cancel out other vibrations is exactly the whole point of how they've designed it. They've written that down. It's very easy. You can go to their website, you can look at it, and to just go, yeah, but this makes no sense. It's like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Make sense to you. Just make it no sense.
Well, no, right, and in a sense, it makes sense what he's complaining. He's saying, like, wouldn't you have this problem? And it's like, yeah, they have that problem, and here's how they solve it. Go read.
Here's how they fixed it.
I would tell him.
They built a 4-kilometer fucking long laser beam to solve that problem.
Right, so exactly, and it's geometry, right? Because a really long laser beam,
exactly,
you can get a very tight angle measurement.
Yeah.
And it all makes sense in the
Why
math.
is it 4 kilometers long, may you ask? Exactly right. Well,
But he hasn't even looked that up.
No, but this is the thing, right? They didn't just decide, oh, shall we just make it a meter long? Nah. Shall we make it 10 meters long? Nah. Why is it 4 kilometers long? Because that's the actual fucking theory in the fucking Einstein prediction. It would require a 4 kilometer laser beam.
Right. Based on this, let's say I've got a detector. I know that it has pixels that can tell a laser beam that is only a half a nanometer change because the angle is such that, so we will put the laser beam far enough away for the detectors that we have and work backward. And they did that in the first run that ended in 2010 or 11, and they didn't pull it off. Now they're trying again with 2015
and as soon as they switched
machines.
It on, it worked.
Yeah. No. And the thing is, there's answers to these questions, and if you read those answers, then there's complaints you could make. But to not read them and make the complaint as if these guys are just making it up, they're just liars.
Exactly, like that's the point.
Can you believe they'd just be liars? People, what bugs me is scientists fool themselves all the time. They've got the wrong truth plenty of times, but to call them as a whole just liars, like they would make up a conspiracy with all the evidence to the contrary, it's just ridiculous. Why should we believe it?
Exactly what Neil deGrasse Tyson said. It would be harder to fake the moon landing than it would be to go there.
Yeah.
The guy, I mean, are you telling me Neil deGrasse Tyson's a fucking idiot? I don't think so. He said it. He said it's not just that, it's just math. We can get to the fucking moon.
Yeah.
Like exactly. Shit, we've got more processing power in our fucking phones. It's not about the processing power, it's about the math. Does the math work? Yes, it does. I'm sorry, but it's called like calculus, trigonometry. These things are not fucking hoaxes. You don't get an archway in a building because someone decided it looks pretty, you fucking idiot. We have archways because it's mathematically possible to have one, you fucking idiots. It's called tension, etc., etc. These people are idiots.
And the thing is, you can trace the math without being able to personally do the math. People could learn enough to trace the math and understand why one fingerprint.
This is the funny part, Pado. I'm not even good at math, but the one thing I do love is the history of math and how it's been applied. Like, I can watch programs, right? If you tell me some mad equation, I'll be like, I don't know. But when I'm watching one and someone's explaining it, I'm like, that makes perfect sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I can get the equation if someone's just, going through the motions or whatever, like whoever, right?
Well, but here's an example of where I think you get the math without necessarily having probably run the equations yourself. When we're talking about the two slit, and there's a pattern of bands, and when you're talking about the one slit and there's a pattern of bands, you can see how the two slits is an overlap and the one slit is just bands, and that those are actually mathematically distinguishable, right? You could tell those bands, if you put an equation to them to simulate that shape, that the shape of that equation would be different. Whereas Gary's like, hey, there's bands. Sure, one has a hump in the middle and blah, blah, blah. But look, it's basically the same. Well, when you understand math, whether you do the equations through yourself or not, you understand that looking similar, like it's got bands, it's not the same as mathematically identical.
The problem is, right, with Gary, and he was saying, oh, well, his proposition is, no, we've actually tested this. We fired one single atom. Like, literally, we fired one atom after another. One. Not a bunch. One of them. It still made the same fucking pattern.
By name, Plum.
One.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing, too,
still made the same pattern.
You know what? I would still try to engage, but that's the problem that's really there, is that
you will just call you a cunt.
We got a weird pattern, a weird experiment to explain. I can talk to Heitzel today. He disagrees with me, but he understands the weirdness that we have to explain.
Listen,
Gary's answer is there is no weird result. That's
a lie.
Weird.
It is weird. That's how we got quantum entanglement.
Not weird. It's just a lie. Yeah.
So. I mean, we wouldn't have literally a fucking physics called dual wave particle physics. It's literally a fucking mainstay of fucking physics. It's literally called dual wave particle physics because a fucking proton acts just like a wave and a particle. It does both, and we don't know why that's the case.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah, everything does. But also what I think he's really resisting is the fact that since they act as both, they're really acting as waves all the time. And the weird thing is, why do we see the particle effect?
The reason why is because
we're seeing a cross section.
Yeah, we're seeing the observation of such. I mean, look, this is the most famous quote that I love, personally, myself. I don't know about you. How can you measure something if you're the measuring stick, right? That's the basis of quantum mechanics. You can't measure something if I measure anything, I'm only going to get what I measure, right? I can't be external from the measurement because I'm locked and confined.
What do you think about
this? Brain.
What do you think about this? Imagine you're in Atlantic City or whatever. A wave comes up at night, a really strong wave, and it smashes against the boardwalk, but just one plank of the boardwalk gets knocked up. The rest of them hold on, right? You go out in the morning, you see one plank there. So did a wave hit? Or did it just a wave-a-ton hit, you know? Right. Now you see one plank, but there's probably a wave. And so it's like, that's really what we're trying to explain. Why we have all the evidence we need to know right now that a whole wave hit the detector. Why did only one pixel, one plank get knocked?
Yeah.
That's the weird thing. Why never two planks? Yeah. Why never 70 planks? Okay, that's
why did my house fall down? You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, but it's a different question because really, I mean, obviously there is a wave front. It hits the whole detector. Only one thing is triggered. That has to do with something else besides what's really going on. There's got to be the wave mechanics.
The thing is, even quantum mechanics is very there's something beneath quantum mechanics. This I've always said this for a long time. We require a different level of understanding of the universe. We have to use math basically backwards. I know that sounds really strange, and people are like, "What do you mean backwards? Like numbers?" No, our interpretation of how we quantify things. If there's anything we should know, there's a fucking yin and yang here. There's an equilibrium, right? So we need to understand that mathematics has an equilibrium. It's called chaos, right? Now, in order to understand chaos, it's just to accept that there's a chaos. That's it. That's all you need to do. Accept that there's shit on the other side of the equation. Look at entropy, for instance, right? Entropy is an energy that creates disorder in everything, right? It's why photons let off radiation, blah, 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 and, you know, all that shit, why we have momentum. That's entropy. But it still requires energy. If you go on number files or shit like that, right, on one of the webpages, still, ever greater disorder leads to greater order, depending on the scale, hence fractals, right? So we're kind of in the same gridlock at this point. So if we go backwards from quantum mechanics, like before quantum mechanics, there's something that's more stable, more like Newtonian physics, right? But the Newtonian physics will produce quantum mechanics that will produce something else. Yeah. So it's just a stepping stone. We just need to go underneath again. Yeah. And I think that's the next level for the human species, is to go, okay, the universe operates on scale. So for each mathematical equation should only apply to scale. It shouldn't be one size fits all, because we don't live in a fucking universe like that, do we?
Let me run something by you. I'm curious. I was thinking about this just today. So I don't know if you know, but there's kind of a puzzle in physics about time. In physics, time is reversible, right? With the laws of thermodynamics, give an arrow to time, but in quantum thermodynamics, no. Granted, when you drop a pebble in the water and the ripples go out, that's more likely than an earthquake that causes the ripples to go in and spit the pebble out. But both could happen physically, right? Okay, yes. So in all elastic conditions, classical mechanics, they're all perfectly reversible. You could not tell. And yet we have air. So the question becomes, well, why does the arrow of time seem to go in one direction? Well, what if it doesn't?
No, it doesn't.
Right. So it occurred to me this a long time ago. Well, let me try to put this thing about by you then.
There is no arrow, is the point.
Right, right. Okay, so here's the idea. I thought a long time ago we wouldn't know if time went backwards, because if time was just sloshing back and forth, when we went backwards, our memories would unwind. So let's say time sloshed back for 3 days. You'd go back 3 days. Your chemistry in your brain would go backwards and cause you to forget the memories you'd remembered, and you'd start over 3 days ago. The end result would be you thinking you had a continuous forward experience. That's one thing. But then what I thought recently,
motion.
Well, that's one thing if you want to comment on it. So that's the idea, is that, okay, it could be going backwards and we wouldn't know. But then I thought, what if it was weirder? What if it was palindromic, right? Because this CRISPR thing where they edit genes as a palindrome, right? The same forward and backwards. What if when you run a human mind backwards, it has thoughts that make perfect sense to itself? It's like, instead of babies being born from people and then dying in a hospital, they come to life in the hospital after you've dug up the body and or unburned
it. Then you live a life, and then you go back to being dead, which is a baby.
Right. When you have when you own a piece a mug, you collect it, you build it out of pieces, and you have an old mug that makes you feel comfortable. And as it gets older, you feel less comfortable until it looks perfect. You take it to a store, and they give you money for it instead of the other way around.
Well, look at it this way.
Okay, let me just finish. I'm saying, so what if everything made sense backwards? What if we do live our lives forwards and backwards, and it makes sense to us backwards when we're living it that way just as much as it does forwards, you know?
That's what I said. There's technically no time. This is the point I love about Einstein, when he said in his general relativity, time is relative. Yes, to the observer. We are the only things observing it, right? Literally. Other than that, there is no time. Literally, it doesn't exist. It's a concept. That's all it is.
Yeah. What if we're the needle on a record player, and time is which way the record is going?
It's not going anywhere. It
isn't going anywhere, because time is just the needle scratching along the record. It's the way the needle and the needle and the record are both moving. We interpret them moving, their relationship, relativity, as time.
But if you look at the needle touching the vinyl record, it never moves. Right. They both never move. They're both in the exact same place. The tune plays, right? The motion's there. No, the motion's there, right?
But they do move relatively, though. I mean, like,
they move relative to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
So now, this is our problem. We're moving relative to the speed of the universe, or we would be out of sync. We wouldn't exist in this universe if we was moving out of sync. So therefore, time is relative. If we moved even a millisecond faster than the universe, we wouldn't fucking exist.
No, but what do you think about that, time being relative? You know how, as a human being, sometimes time seems to go really slow and sometimes fast?
Well, I think
that's just psychology.
I think that's gravity waves trotting our planet, probably.
Well, so you think that it's real? Because this was my question.
Yeah, you're right.
The common assumption is that that's just psychological perception.
No, I think that's probably now a good rational reason to go. You know, when people go, "Oh, it goes so slow today," or "It's going really quick," I think, probably gravity waves. Like, I literally said that the day it happened, because I had a Hangouts on it. I was like, "Isn't that amazing?" And what if aliens developed a form of communication, if they were so smart, that it would be better to use gravity waves than radio waves, because they don't get lost. Gravity waves go through everything.
Yeah, because the thing is, with Einstein, for sure, in physics right now, time is a dimension, meaning you could move forward and backward in it. Now,
up, down, left, right.
We're drifting at a constant rate in one direction. Fine.
We're spinning around.
But time itself, you could move both directions. You could move faster or slower. And what I notice is we wouldn't know if sometimes we move faster in time or we move back in time. We would never know, because
I
of the
think our
fact.
brains do. That's the
Well,
difference.
it's
I
like
think
when
our
you
brains do,
rewind a
but
film.
we have got like this like weird thing going on.
If you have a film and you rewind it, it rewinds perfectly. If you rewind a film and play it forward and rewind and play it, it's still one forward unit.
It's still the film. It's still the film.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can rewind and fast forward, and in the end, what you see is the same thing as if you watched the film 1 or 2 or 3 times. You might have watched it 5 times through because you rewound so much. But the end result is the same as watching it 1 time through and then another 4. So you might have watched it more, but really you got this segment. And physics looks like time is something like this. Like it is moving from one event to another, right? And possibly we are experiencing it again just because of our chemistry. I mean, we have a certain chemistry. We interact with those events a certain way, and time really is relative.
The universe itself isn't going anywhere.
Right. No, exactly. Because again, the vinyl record, vinyl record, in the sense in which nothing's changing, is there's a record that totally exists. There's a needle that totally exists. They're relatively moving, but in the universe, you have 2 things that totally exist ahead of time, and time is the illusion created by their relative motion. Yeah.
Well, it's the motion of the player, right? Let's say. You could say the universe, as we experience, is the music of the vinyl, right? The vinyl spinning, which is the expansion of the universe, right? But it's still relative to our point in time, which would be the needle. But the needle is giving us the ability to hear or, well, feel the expansion of the universe.
Right,
but
I
the
like the
universe
idea
itself isn't going anywhere. We're still in the same place, always, constantly going.
I like the metaphor of being the needle, just because, we're the conduit, but same thing.
Yeah, we're just there. We're always in the same place, and we can always hear the tune. We just don't know when the record started or when it stopped.
Well, the thing is too with this particular metaphor is that it's playing music, so there's speakers and the needle and the record, basically.
Yeah. And that's probably why we like music, right?
Conduit. Yeah.
How fucking freaky is that? Probably why we like music.
I actually believe that's true. I believe one reason we have this native love of music is because it embodies what time really is.
Yeah,
one note to the next. Like in music, you can have a quarter note. And you can have a quarter note at, 100 beats per minute or 170 beats per minute, and it still sounds like a quarter note because your brain goes, here's the tempo, and here's a quarter note. Oh, but it's being played faster, slower. But you know what I mean? A quarter note is a quarter note. A 16 note is a 16 note.
It doesn't change.
No, even though the actual time might have changed. Yeah.
It doesn't. It's
a perfect example of how time really is one note to the next. And if a quarter note is twice as fast, it doesn't matter. 2 quarter notes is 2 quarter notes. It's a half a beat.
It's still the same thing. It's still the same.
Right. So at least that's the thing, is it could just be psychological, but certainly in our psychology, the way the human brain as a computer works, there's definitely this relative time thing of, wow, my brain's working faster and time seems slower, or vice versa. So
why not? Why not? Honestly, I don't see why that should scare people. I think it's very interesting. If we can understand the perplexity of the universe, and it is perplexing to say the least. If we can understand,
I wish everybody would admit that. That's what Gary's whole thing is. It's like his rejection is that it is perplexing. He's like, no, it's common sense. These guys that call it perplexing,
it's mind-bogglingly
are lying.
Yeah, but this is my thing is. The reason why I love science so much, and it's kind of fucking ironic that Gary's doing physics, because he hates it when I talk about physics, right? I remember getting kicked out of this room many times by saying physics. He's like, oh, physics, blah, 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 and get kicked me out, right?
Yeah.
The funny thing is the beauty
you and
of
him
the
not
madness.
Compatible.
Yeah, the beauty of the madness of the universe is why I love it. It's boss. I love not knowing. That's what propels me, Not knowing.
Well, I wouldn't like not knowing the Archimedes idea of the lever.
Yeah, I'm not going to go that strong on not knowing. But you get the point.
I totally do. The fact that it's perplexing like fractals are or transcendental numbers, you know, the fact that
even
you can try
crazy.
pi, no, not even pi. Yeah, pi is a great example. It's like the fact that it's so beautiful and perplexing, even when you try really hard, even when you understand the maximum, you just reach another level of wow,
craziness.
I arrived at something that's weird. That is beautiful. I agree.
Yeah, it's like a flower, you know, and it always reminds me of like the.
But that's you and me being countercultural, right? A lot of people don't have that reaction, but to me, yeah, it's good news that the world is tricky.
Yeah, and, I like that. Imagine if the world,
who wanted it to be boring? Why would you want it to be boring or easy to figure out, or Gary could figure out in an afternoon? That would be terrible.
Think of the opposite. We'd all be rocks. I don't want to be a rock. I just don't. Yeah. I want to be an opposite. We are basically, as organisms, the yin of the universe's yang. That's a good thing. If the universe wasn't the way it was, you wouldn't exist. And it'd be a pretty shitty place because you couldn't even call it a shitty place because you wouldn't exist. And this is the funny thing about Gary. The universe is a bad place. Yeah, but it gives rise to you. Don't you think that's interesting at all?
Well, I think that's
interesting.
Well, I think you're making interesting. Well, here's an interesting point, which is I think Gary's physics, that's the problem with it is, and I've run into this before with him, is that he puts humans in this special magical place.
Yeah, don't do that. That's a bad idea.
Right. And then he says it's so simple, and yet none of his explanation is going to explain how something as complicated as him that could figure out how it's simple could arise. You know what I mean? He was born and explain to us how straightforward it is, and yet he is inherently complex and he can't explain himself.
Yeah, and this is the point. It's like you're trying to tell me that you're the measuring stick, right? That's why I love quantum mechanics. It's because he's saying I know everything. Well, that's impossible. That's physically impossible. Yeah. Because you're stuck in a system that doesn't allow you to expel yourself to measure anything.
I think that's what we're really debating with Gary.
He doesn't get it. He'll just go
is how
Skyzor. He won't even pronounce my name correctly. It'll be like Skyzor. I'm like, dude, can you just say my fucking name once correctly? It's Sky with a fucking T. Okay, I know you got a probably fucking speech impediment. I should actually rename myself to Skyzor.
But really, I mean, the thing is, it's kind of weird that because you and I are both people that are willing to go, hey, I think I figured out how it works. So it's not like we're not egotistical.
Yeah, but we don't say we need a Nobel Prize.
Well, we don't say, but the thing is, what we're saying is, hey, I can figure out this esoteric weird thing. Yeah. That's egotistical, but it's not the same as going, look, it's not weird. It's not esoterical. Everything is totally obvious. But for some reason, I'm the only one that gets it.
No,
that's somehow contradictory. I mean,
that's very egotistical as well. Like, I've had some great
ideas. What I'm saying is you and I are pretty egotistical about our theories. And so that can't be the difference.
But I wouldn't say...
That's not the difference, though. I mean, you know what I mean? I think there is a difference. But it's more like the kind of theory he's saying. It's like I figured out part of an infinite complexity is more humble than I figured out a finite simplicity that nobody else gets. Yeah, that's way more. That's way more egotistical.
Yeah, it's just weird in the sense that he's not willing to go. Like if he just said, "Look, this is my idea.
Yeah,
you guys want to help me out?" People would be like, yeah. And I think that's what he tried to do at the beginning. He was like, this is my theory. But if you just would spend 5 seconds...
Yeah, draft science. Gary has a way of naming channels. Draft science.
What's up,
Perfectly humble, and yet you can't talk to him about his draft science as though it was draft science. It's a finished theory, by golly gosh. Hey, I've gotta go take a leak real quick. Don't leave. Hi, Lede.
Oh no, I'm staying. It's.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
One half of that. Do you want to jump in? Have you been listening, Justin?
I've just got up. Yeah, I've been trying.
Well, good morning, good sir. I know it's 10 to 7 in the morning for you there, or something of that nature, because I can actually see my fucking time. Well, welcome to the party. Yeah, we're talking about physics and stuff in regards to.
I was wondering. I wanted to ask you guys whether you'd seen my video on this quantum eraser experiment.
Actually, I was about to, but I haven't got through the other stupid videos that I need to watch. I'm not saying yours are stupid, but
have you heard of it?
No, I was just literally going to watch your video and see what your presentation was on it. So if you want to do it now in regards to your opinion, then fill me in. Yeah, sure. I don't know.
It's about the craziest shit there is. You know, I mean, it's crazier than two-slit experiments. It's crazier than.
Well, what's crazy? What's crazier than you being here? That's crazy by itself. Everything else is a plus at this point. Come on, be honest. That's why I love physics.
Entanglement, and it's like entanglement to the max, and
all right, then. Well,
it's like rewriting. It's the way it's sold. I mean, the way I explain it, and I have my own explanations, but the standard explanation is one of rewriting history and time.
Yeah, because we need to. Me and Pyro just said that before. I said to Pyro, we need to understand there's a different way of thinking now, because we're observers of the universe, right? We are locked in a kind of paradigm, right? We're locked in it. It's like we use applied mathematics. We can measure shit. Well, that's all, fluffy and good, but what happens when you reverse them calculations back on yourself? It gets pretty spooky then, doesn't it? Think about it. The universe becomes inside out at that point.
So
do we have white holes?
When you talk about that. But I was just asking, Pyro, do you know much of the quantum eraser experiment, or did you catch my videos on it?
Yes, I've been following it. I can't say. I'm not going to pretend to be super fluent because it's very confusing, but yeah, I get the general idea how they put devices in there that have already been used to record and change the pattern, but by not looking at the information from those devices, they can recombine the beam, and even though it's gone through a device that before has created one of the patterns, that pattern disappears because they don't collect the information and that kind of thing. Yeah, and it's very tricky though. A lot of the stuff they do to like establish that they would have collected information, but in the ways that they don't actually collect it, and that it ends up happening. But it is very weird and compelling. So I'd be happy to listen to you or the point.
It's just
well, it's pretty weird.
It's not. It's the non-information is still information. This is the point.
The thing is, the two-slit is weird. Quantum erasure is like weird cubed or something. It's like I don't want to pretend I totally get it, but I do understand how they've shown something that really is materially weird. It's not made up, and it just seems weird because I'm confused. No, there's a physical thing there they've done, and
yeah, they just collected the information that they left out. That's all. That's all they did. They just said, well, if we gathered this information,
I'll be really interested to see when they do these quantum erasure where they actually have quantum computers that can have quantum memory and be able to do an erasure where, depending on how they read out the memory, it changes the pattern that they get after the whole, you know what I mean? Like store the results of an experiment in a quantum memory where all the superpositions are.
All right.
And then see the pattern change based on how you access that.
Yeah, I'm gonna just point out like a very.
That's where it's coming, right?
I'm gonna point out a very obvious thing. Now you might not like this, but I'm gonna point out quantum erasure is how your brain works when you recall memories. For fuck's sake, it's not that fucking hard. It just isn't. An organism is the most sophisticated fucking computer. We're just trying to replicate it. That's all.
You're a hippie.
I am. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you believe you can visualize the future.
No, okay then. So where are your memories?
That's an insult coming from Pyro to calling you hippie.
I am a hippie. I don't
I
find
know,
this a fucking
it is
insult.
an insult from me because I like people, so I like hippies, but I figure I'll call you a hippie, and if you take offense, don't worry, I like hippies. Meanwhile, it's you fucking hippie, my brain is streaming quantum
No,
reality.
no,
I
no. I'm
know, and
sorry.
it's purple.
Well, the thing is, right? Everything we know it came from the observation of the universe. I'm sorry, but you are made of the same substance of the universe. We are not indifferent to it, and this is the
Yeah.
spookiest part about the universe.
But
We are
you
not
say that,
indifferent
but
to it.
but you say that, but you and I are different because this is what I try to push to everybody here is that we're in some weird universe, fine, that's how it looks, but all we really know is that, we have our perceptions. So let's make all our philosophy about us having our perceptions, and then everybody thinks, but you're saying you create your own reality. No,
But
I'm
that's
saying
wrong.
we're in our own reality, and there's a million of these different realities, but we're stuck with the one. Let's do the math that way. But you are way more objective than me. I mean, in the sense that you don't act more objectively, but I mean, you believe more in the objective reality of the things that you see and feel, I think, right? I mean,
No,
you do.
I would say that in my understanding of the scenario we find ourselves in, it would be better to understand the situation than to assume the situation. If we're gonna assume stuff,
But
that's
you think that
problematic.
there's something we could find out that's objective, and that's where I'm doubtful.
I
Like,
think
you and I would both pursue the same method to find out information, but you
I
would
think
think
that
that
the information's already
information's more
there.
real than I do. I'm not sure.
Well, I think the information's already there. It's just it's whether we can understand. It's like growing up as a small child. That's what we are, small children.
Well,
right?
here's the thing. Here's an alternate way of what I was thinking about, kind of the same gist, because High Philadelphia here, which is we were arguing, or I was talking about a part of the thing with Gary is that he thinks the universe should be comprehensible.
No.
And so he's comprehended it. You and I disagree with that. I think High Philadelphia, you're somewhere in the middle, right? You do believe there's some truth to it should be comprehensible. You don't assume it's as easy to comprehend as Gary as a result of that, because that doesn't follow. But in the end, you do believe.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
The some time ago, many years ago now, we discussed quantum mechanics, and it appeared to me like I refer to this quantum probability from magic, and you said, well, I don't think of it that way. You think of it as like a platonic dice or something. And recently, you've seemed to have let's say come round to my way of thinking, or softened. Or you said something like. You're not denying that there must be a mechanism that gives the probability. Now, I agree with you in the sense that there's what you said just a minute ago, that there'll be some things that we can never answer and we can never know about, but that doesn't mean that it isn't real. That's
right. Yeah, exactly. No, that's true.
So I can still say, yeah. The best we'll ever do is a probabilistic law.
It has to. It's the only way we can.
Philosophically, I had this analogy. If I had a coin and I said, "Is it heads or tails?" and said it's 6, then the point is with probability, it actually has to be a bona fide possibility of happening, and the only way for it to be a bona fide possibility of happening is there to be some physicality behind it.
Which is your own existence, which is the problem.
But the thing is, too, is that, so here's the thing. I mean, I don't think my view has changed, but we've come to understand each other better.
I think we've all evolved in our opinions.
I have evolved, but I mean, in this fact, I've always said there was a mechanism. The thing is, I believe there can be a wave probabilistic mechanism. I don't think that the fact that there's a mechanism doesn't mean that the way you flip the coin predetermined whether it turned out heads or tails. There's all kinds of randomness and things that could create that random. So I believe the quantum information.
Well, chaos made that.
What Seth Lloyd uses to talk about quantum information. He talks about flipping coins. He says when you flip the coin and you cover it and nobody's seeing what it is, whatnot, that's 1 bit worth of entropy. Yeah. It could be heads, it could be tails. Energy. When you look at it, it's not entropy, it's a heads or tails. When you haven't looked at it, it's entropy. It could be heads or tails. And that's an actual physical distinction.
Every time you flip heads or tails and he does that, he does Schrodinger's cat. You do know that, right? Half a day.
I mean, you just perform
Schrodinger's cat. Is it heads or is it tails? Well, is it dead or is it alive? Well, we know there's a coin. We know there's a cat. Is it dead or is it alive?
Well, but it's just like taking a temperature, right? When you take a temperature.
The information's there. But the information is both. It's right there. He just literally picked up a coin. There's the information. All he's doing is guising the information, right? Because he's got his hand over it. So it can't be both yes and no, or heads or tails in this case, at the same time. We don't know until he takes his hand off his fucking arm.
No, but there's no reason it couldn't be both, because he's covering it.
His
covering it means that the photons are blocked from it, and information's not traveling to and from it. That turns out to be physically important.
That's how the universe is operating right now. We are one side of the coin. The other side is not applicable to us.
But my question for Heifel today is, if there's a mechanism, why couldn't it be probabilistic? Why can't I have a mechanism where I roll dice? I have a mechanism. I have 6 ships. Which one is going to go out the next time there's a rescue?
Oh, someone asked me this question. I roll
the dice, and I send out the die. If it comes up 2, I send out ship number 2. If it comes out 4, I send out ship number 4. Usually, I send out ship number 7.
That there is a probabilistic mechanism, rolling dice or whatever. But it's.
Probability is only foresight. You do know
that idea that idea of probabilistic mechanism as a truth to quantum mechanics and a truth to reality, it is still a kind of hidden variable. Yeah,
it is.
As long as you look at it that way, I'm happy. But the people who just say, no, that's what the way nature is probabilistic, and as though it's delivered as like a magic answer.
Well, that's what Gary does. I don't think I will say I don't think Paro does it that way. To be honest, I think me and Paro and you in that regard, we try and look at the universe in a mathematical kind of way. I will say that, and we try and understand the mad shit. And I will agree with Hafley. There's a hidden variable. There's something that we still haven't got onto.
To me, it's like this with my higher dimensionality. It's like, what if everything that could ever happen is part of a 4-dimension, or let's say a 6-dimensional sphere. Let's say there's 3 dimensions of time, right, for parallel events, right? And there's 3 dimensions of space. So let's just, it could be 4, 10, whatever. We'll just say a 6. The way I see it is the determinism is that everything in that sphere is already, the things that, like you guys were saying, I forget which one, the things that are probable exist in the sphere. Things that can't happen with Stizor.
Have another sphere.
Things that can't happen at all, they're not in the sphere.
But they still happen. But they still happen. Just over there.
Wait, but that's not what I'm saying. That's another topic.
All right.
And then we are like a thread, a line through this sphere, right? We have a 4-dimensional experience, let's say, and it's caused by carving a line through this 6-dimensional object, right? We have some path through the 6-dimensional object. That is our life. That's where our free will comes from, is that when you are a 4-dimensional object in a 6-dimensional space, there's freedom of motion. Everything's still determined, right? All of the events you could possibly experience are determined. Everything that's possible versus everything that's impossible, it's either in or out of the set.
Mm-hmm.
But you can carve a path that goes left or right at a particular doorway, and that's why we have the illusion or reality of a free
I'm
will
just going to say
experience.
this. I'm a compatibilist when it comes to free will. I understand determinism, 0 and 1, but I also understand that you haven't got the choice to choose, but you can choose. There you go.
That picture that you described, much of it is agreeable. I'm happy to. I'd rather introduce new dimensions and new mechanisms than just reside yourself to, you know, it's both yes and no, or
no, it can be both yes and no.
That's comes from.
Right.
But the idea that you, in my mind's eye, if you picture that tracing your path, as you put it, through this higher dimensional, what do they call it?
Just say thing. Just say thing.
No, it's configuration space.
Right.
You're moving through a higher dimensional configuration space.
Right.
Now, in that mind's eye picture, it's as though the point at the end, moving on, as though it's a little person deciding, and you don't really, you kind of, you're seeing the conscious agent at every level. It moves with you through the levels.
Well, that's what we saw.
I would say that, take your analogy, and I'll say it's more like, imagine you're in that that multi-dimensional sphere, and there's some guy shaking it around, yeah, and your consciousness is merely the ride you get.
Yes.
Yeah?
No, that's possible. I think the picture I present is supposed to be neutral in that respect. It doesn't mean there's a free will. Maybe every turn that you take in this sphere still has this kind of a cause where it couldn't have been.
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm
going to 7. The way you rolled the 7, it was never going to come up a 6. Possibly that's true. No, I acknowledge that. I don't believe that. You know, I do believe we make some choices in our turns, but it's not necessarily true. I think in the picture I gave, if you had a 6-dimensional time space and you're carving through it, that shows how you have compatibilism. It shows where the freedom of thinking you make choices happens.
Well,
it doesn't actually prove anything beyond compatibilism or argue for it, where it's really you could have made the other choice. It doesn't show that.
I'm gonna disagree with you half a day.
That's an extra thing I happen to believe.
Yeah, I'm gonna say literally compatibilism is a real thing. I'll just take you back to basic physics. Like,
well, I mean, what do you mean? Wait, before you even go on, I mean, Heitleday is compatibilist. I mean, he does not deny
I'm not saying that.
We live without free will as a, you know, a
psychological factor. Well, people forget that our brains.
It's an illusion.
No, it's not an illusion. It's very real. It's not some shit we dreamt up, or you wouldn't exist. The universe doesn't make mistakes. Okay?
No, but if you're compatibilist, then you're saying that it's an illusion that we have free will.
No, people say it's an illusion. I'm saying they work hand in hand. A lion eats a gazelle. That's just the way the universe works. Well,
but do you think if there's a glass of water on the table, Wait, let me just ask simple to get an idea. I mean, if there's a glass of water on the table, can you choose to drink it or not, or is it predetermined based on your thirst level or whatever else has predetermined it?
It was predetermined that someone put a glass in front of me with water.
Right.
I would be in that situation if no one did it, right?
But if you're in a situation where you might drink it...
Wait, hold on, dude. Hold on, let me finish. The problem as humans with a consciousness is that we was going to be here, right? Because of the nature of the universe. So our dilemma is then we face, as existing beings, choices. Yes or no. That's just the way the world fucking works. Now, how did we get here? We don't know. Well, I'm pretty sure we don't fucking know. If anyone says they do, probably lying or trying to sell you some weird crystals or some shit. But in regards to the predetermined shit and determinism and free will, I'm a human being, right? The only option I have is to choose. Therefore, that's
well, let's talk about our own experiences. Like, we know the reality of the fight or flight reaction, right? I think that's something we've all lived through, right? Even if it was artificial and we were kids, we didn't have to have that reaction, but we had it. We know the truth. It's a very true thing, this fight or flight.
Yeah.
Is that a decision? Do you
decide it's a mechanism.
To fight or flight? Well, I mean, it's funny because when you have that experience, you choose one or the other, and you often feel very compelled. You're compelled to fight, or you're compelled to flee, and you just do it. On the other hand, it's the essence of a decision. You can do one of two opposite things, and you decide which to do.
Well, I think
that we were talking about compatibilism here, right? And it's a very sympathetic view to non-free will people, because fight or flight, which you choose, really often seems predetermined. But I'm a coward. I flighted.
Yeah,
I am a fighter.
Most of them people.
I fighted.
I'm sorry. Most of the people who believe in free will have never came up against death. I have, and trust me, it doesn't exist. It just doesn't.
Well, what about you, Heithel, today? I mean, I know you because you talked about your pugilistic past. That's a sure signature that you have faced the fight or flight emotion. Do you feel you ever chose which to fight or flight?
I believe. I mean, that's what puzzles me about the ethicist is and certain utilitarians, how they can use the basis of something which is intact of fight or flight or repulsion from harm, which is entirely nothing to do with choice. Yeah. By definition, that's what it means.
They want to employ it, right? They want to
employ
their impulses.
But wait a second. Okay, well, you should finish. But that made me think of something else. I mean, wait. So here's the thing. You know, we say if somebody points a gun at you and says, "Give me your wallet," you have no choice but to give them their wallet. But that's just language. Of course you have a choice to not give them your wallet. You can get shot. It's a choice. We all know which way to decide. But in reality, you have a choice. You always have a choice to fight.
It's another bad example. Because when I had a gun pointed at me, yeah, looking back, I didn't do any choosing. Right? A guy pointed a gun at me, and he wasn't asking for my wallet, but I did what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, but you still made the choice.
I noticed that I just stopped.
Well, that's why these are good examples, because
no, but this is the thing.
They're the heaviest choices you can make, and I would grant you guys or your side, Heithel, today, that in those cases where we have the most obvious choices we have to make, usually when you live through them, you didn't make a lot of decision making. They just happened. It's like, well, my reaction was this: I punched him in the face, or I gave him my wallet, or you know.
Hold on, wait. We're missing
no choices.
No, but wait, we're missing the point.
No time for deliberation.
No, wait. You still made a choice. That's a lie. You still made a choice.
Quick point. Let me just make this quick point. Any choices you make, really, I think you said it, hinted at it then, Stizer, is over time. When all the split decisions you make aren't really choices.
No, they are. The reason why we don't recognize them is because they are so quick. That's the point. The human brain does them so quickly that you fail or you neglect the fact that you're doing them. Listen, you make choices. You make a choice.
Well, no, wait. Let's just get back down to basics.
Hold on. I want to finish this point. Hold on. I want to finish this point.
Okay, but be personal. Like, what do you really experience in that situation? I mean, in that situation, it feels like things just fell like dominoes. You either beat that guy up or you tried to and lost. It fell like dominoes, and you live with the result.
Yeah, but you got to. Okay, I'm going to say this once and once only, and I'm going to finish my book eventually. I literally will.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, go ahead.
You are basically not a noble gas. You are not a noble atom. Your entire functionality is to interact with other human beings. This makes you an atom. just consider this for one moment. Everything in the universe has an equilibrium. If you think that your consciousness doesn't do the same shit, you're very fucking wrong. Very fucking wrong. The way personalities and all this shit works, it's not because you've got a brain with some magical fairy dust sprinkled on it that makes you feel special. No, you operate on the same very laws of physics that makes us understand the universe. If you can't see that, you must be retarded. Okay?
No, but come on, that's not true, because there is...
No, your personality itself is like a big giant atom. Okay?
Well, that's a great poem, but surely you admit that there is magical fairy dust in your neural system.
No, come on, don't be silly.
Well, I mean, I think you don't say that a rock has the same emotional life as you, because
it hasn't got any emotion.
Right, because you've got a neural system which is having some special magic dust.
Yes, but you live inside of a rock. Does the universe have any emotions? Have you ever cracked open?
That's a rhetorical thing, because
no, it's not. No, all right then. I'll give you a challenge.
You're a part of the universe, so I know part of the universe has emotions.
I will literally give you half a day challenge. Find me an equation that actually fits in the standard model where you fit in it. Give me one, please. There isn't. That's just a hint. You can try and find it. No, it's a fact. It's literally a fact. We use mathematics, but when you apply it to the human race and the existence of the universe, it gets pretty fucking weird pretty fucking fast. We don't live inside of a fucking rock, is the problem. That's been our method of physics for so long. That's why it's problematic. Because we don't accept the fact that we exist. We accept the fact there's a black hole. Oh, that's interesting. Do you accept the fact that you exist? Give me any equation. Any equation that puts life inside of the universe that we teach to our kids. Be my guest. There isn't one. Like I said, there's your hint.
But in our life, I think we might find such a thing. I mean, we are getting at the threshold where, for example, we won't answer that question in a totality, but we probably, within our lifetime or our children's generation, let's say in the next 50 years, I think there's a good chance we'll recreate life.
Okay, then.
We'll figure out, hey, I don't know why, but this set of chemicals, in a way, you could already say that, because we could take genes out of a bacteria, use them as a programming language.
That is not creating life. That's replicating.
Well, but what if we just all we have to do is replicate all the chemicals?
No, but therefore you're
not that far.
Therefore, what you do. Therefore, what you're doing is missing the point. You're missing the point.
Let me ask you this question.
Why? Why is life? Why would life be in the universe?
But wait, let me just ask you this, though. In that situation, we would not know why. I'm saying if we did not know why a genetic machine worked, but we can synthetically make it, right? Then, no, but it's something that's likely to happen in this 50-year time frame.
You're not listening.
No, I'm listening. I'm asking you if that would count for you.
No, it doesn't count.
And it wouldn't. You would want us to understand the principles of why that created life. Reproducing it.
Why? Listen to me. Why is the universe inanimate? Would you agree the universe is inanimate?
No, because we're animate, so obviously...
No, exactly right, so therefore the principle of the equation...
Part of my materialism, Stizor, is that we're animate.
The point is...
We're physical. We're a part of the universe.
Yes, we are. So,
like, is the planet inanimate?
Okay, is the universe capable of thinking?
Let me ask you this. Is the Earth inanimate? Is the Earth capable of
thinking? Yes, it is. No, it's not.
It is capable of thinking because it's covered with thinking creatures.
No, it's not.
That's a part of the Earth. No, it's a semantic thing.
No, it's not.
Look, dude, everything we know that thinks
it's too
is on the Earth.
Is my point. It's too small. Let's go.
But you're not listening.
Bigger.
You're not listening. Well, because the thing is, the Earth is covered with thinking creatures. Therefore, a part of the Earth is thinking. You yourself, not every bone, not every calcium molecule in your body is thinking. Just a little tiny part is thinking. But you consider yourself as thinking. Well, the planet Earth, only a tiny little part is thinking, not the granite, but it only takes a tiny little part to say the Earth is thinking is only to say parts of it are thinking, just like when you say Stizor is thinking means only parts of Stizor are thinking.
You're using the Earth as a bad analogy. That's my point.
No, I'm saying that when you say a system is living,
big-ass place.
For a system to be living only requires a part of the system.
No, it only requires one part of it to
Do you think the water in your body is living? No, right?
Well, no, but you're missing the point. You're totally missing the point.
No, you're missing the point. But what's your point?
No, I'm sorry.
Can I just pull it back? I just wanted to back to quantum physics about the idea of a wave function. Would you agree, Pyro, that you like to think of the probabilistic wave function, waving, that for every waveform, like your basic sine wave, electricity waveform, and more complicated waveforms, that you could get mechanically rotary gears or intercoupled wheels to create that waveform, just like how your basic electricity is in a sine waveform, but way back at the generator you have a rotating generator. Well, for any particular waveform, a quantum waveform, pilot waveform, probability wave, all this, you can look at it mathematically and physically two different ways. One is in the waveform field kind of way.
We can get both.
You can also imagine that implied in that is a mechanical circular kind of function.
We can get both.
Well, okay, yes and no. Mostly no. The yes is just because
we can.
Cyclic functions, right? A spinning object or something is the same mathematically as a wave. So in that sense, they're similar. But no, I don't think you can actually simulate it with classical gears. I believe this was tried in physics, basically, of various ways. And the reason it doesn't work is because you end up with mathematics that would work with your gear system if the gears were in all positions at once, right? And so that breaks it. If you had a relativistic gear or a quantum gear that is a superposition of all the positions of the gears at once with their relationships preserved between the gears, like if this one's turned 40%, this one must be turned 60%. If this one's turned 20%, then this is turned, so the relationships maintain, but what the gear is at,
But that's what quantum mechanics does. That's
why the gears are not sufficient.
No, it's not. It is sufficient.
You need a superposition of gears.
I think positions of atoms that don't fucking do that shit, but they still do that shit. It's scale. It's about scale. Come on, guys. We know about fractals already. Don't piss me off.
Of gears might be required in our dimensions, but if you allow them,
they wouldn't exist if they were
distant in other dimensions, then I don't think you have to think of them.
Yeah, but we don't live in another dimension.
That relates to what I admitted before, which is if you take this higher dimensional space, all of the positions of the gears exist. They're separated by the fact that this higher dimensional space provides more different localities, right? So you have different local situations.
What if one gear didn't decide to turn?
So the superposition all exists at once in some higher dimensional space, and again, that works. You can simulate everything we see with these oscillating functions if you accept this superpositional math one way or another. And there are ways with higher dimensions where accepting it doesn't mean there's really superposition at all. What it means is there's a higher dimensional space.
Yeah, you know what
if
that's
you
called?
accept a higher dimensional space, then there is no room for difference.
The mechanics of this already exist. It's called an organism. We already do this. We're trying to replicate it.
I agree with that, but that's far from determined, right?
No, I'm just saying everything we know is based on our experience of how the universe already operates. Nothing we do is new. Don't you understand this shit? Nothing we do is new. We're learning. It's constantly learning shit.
Yeah.
We can't invent anything that's new. It's already been done. We're just trying to figure out how the fuck it works. Are you that complacent?
No, I think we all agree on that. I mean, I guess what I'm saying, Hytha, today is this is what I've said about the compatibility of determinism and whatever free will is.
Mechanics, we discovered it. There's a fucking difference.
If you have a higher dimensionality, then you can easily unify a determinism and a compatibilism where it doesn't seem like there's a determinism, and you can integrate the possibility that it's not a determinism, that I actually get to choose whether my little path goes left or right. Both of those fit once you've accepted a higher dimensional thing, and that's what most physicists believe, I think. When you talk to physicists about determinism, they don't think it means God anymore, that God doesn't roll dice. What it means is that
God has dice.
God has dice, and the inputs create the outputs. It limits the possibilities. If you shoot photons at the screen, you limit where they might land.
The beauty of our
constraints. There are constraints, and so since there are constraints, things are determined. But it doesn't mean God doesn't roll dice, and that's why they resort to the higher dimensions. In my view, is because if you have higher dimensions, it enables a compatibilism where everything is determined in one sense, but what you will experience, which determined is not determined. Yeah, what you will experience has some openness to it. And it's a lot like there being 20 determined possibilities.
We're all agreed that the higher dimensionality picture is preferable then, yeah?
I am, I think one way or another, it's got to be,
It has to be. We can't. The thing is with humans is we assume something, right? But what we're assuming is underlyingly not the case, right? In regards to, we can't know everything. It's literally impossible. I just said this to Pyro before. It's fucking possible. You can't extract yourself from the universe. You are the measuring stick. I'm sorry, but this is the case. It's the basic. The guy who's the granddaddy of quantum mechanics. That's his most famous quote. You can't measure something if you are the measuring stick. It's fucking impossible. Live with it. It's a shitty scenario to be in, I grant you this. But you better fucking get used to that idea, unless you want to fucking become God, which I don't think you're going to become God anytime soon. So deal with what we have. And what we have is a pretty crazy situation already, right? But don't go around pretending that you know shit. I know the answer to the universe like fucking soft bollocks over here, like Amendum. No, he doesn't. He's lying. If not to anybody else, but to himself. He should be humble, like me, and say, I don't know, but that's the law of motion. Just saying. Because not knowing is a law of motion.
I just like the idea that you might be humble. That's already an interesting. Go ahead, Highfield.
As humble as Ahmed Ali is.
I know. When I think Caesar, my first thought is how humble.
Yeah.
Shut up. Yeah, no. Go on,
it was funny earlier when he tried to tell us off for interrupting him, because he was like, I'm going to finish here, you're going to keep interrupting me.
All right, shut up.
But I thought, my God, what a humble way to it.
Yeah, shut up, get on with it.
Okay. No, I agree. I have it wrote on a whiteboard, is that it's just an unpalatable fact that, the uncertainty principle's true. You know, it's
It
the way
is.
the game's designed that we can only ask a limited question of any experiment.
Oh no, we can ask any
I
question.
talked about it in a recent video about the fact that we can only accept
No. Look, it's relativity, because okay, Hythlode's right. We can only ask. We're limited in what we can ask. You're also right. We can ask anything. The thing is, if you ask two questions, the more you ask one, the less you can answer the other. The important thing is the relationship. Asking more of question A means you get less information out of question B.
Question B, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a real limit, even though it's true. If you can ask question A to an arbitrary degree of
question
detail.
A.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is the point.
So it's both are true, and I think it's really important that this is the relationship. What quantum mechanics preserves is the relationship between two things.
Yeah.
Right. When you say this electron could be, it could be polarity up or down or left or right or 45 degrees, 90, 91.
It's only up and down because we perceive it.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is, when it has a pair
left and right.
when it has a pair particle, you know that it's going to be opposite. That relationship between the pair, that's preserved, and that preserves everything. It preserves the conservation of energy and all kinds of things we rely on. Is that even though the polarity could be anything, its pair particle has the opposite polarity. That's the connection in the universe that makes everything work out.
Yeah, it's yin and yang. It's not a joke. I mean, I don't want to get all like fucking weird and tinfoil hattery, but the universe is in perfect equilibrium, and that's why a lot of physicists get scared to death, because
it is. But isn't that like a Voltaire thing? Like, oh, the universe must be great. It's in perfect equilibrium. Why does it suck so bad? The answer is because there's an infinite number of equilibriums. But
the fact that it's just got one is a problem. Yeah. Because if it didn't, we wouldn't exist. And that's why people believe in God, who are physicists.
Well, you said that a lot, and I think that's an interesting point that modern physics is into, is like, they've never figured out why you can't tweak certain constants, but they have done simulations where they tweak certain physical constants and find out that, guess what? In most of these mathematically possible hypothetical universes we're looking at, chemistry doesn't happen and humans don't exist.
Yeah, and that's just so weird. It's like
a fascinating thing. Yeah, you can go out to like the 30th or 40th place on these constants, change them, and find out, matter won't congeal, and things that would
mass doesn't even work or anything. It's just it's so bizarre. So. Yeah. That's how I say the universe.
Well, it's the old anthropomorphic thing, right? Is why do we find life in our universe? Is because,
because the universe itself is
we're
a
the
lie.
only one it's possible in. But it's like if life is possible.
The one that we're in.
What if life is possible in a universe with all of the rolls of the dice that happen, compatibilism or not, it's going to exist. If it's possible. There's so many tries in a universe, and all the galaxies in a universe.
But they would all cease to exist.
But most of them,
the problem with our universe.
You guys know the anthropomorphic argument, right?
No, hold on,
in a universe that people exist in because that's the only universe.
But hold on. What the point? That could be truism, right? That could be true, right?
It's a truism. It's that I mean. We could be the only life in the universe, because even if life was so rare, it only happened once. That'd be the universe we'd find ourselves in, right? There's no other universe, so we're here. We can't judge how likely it is.
The universe would still be full of life. Literally.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. I think the universe is probably going to be full of life, but you have to understand the argument is the opposite, is that we can't tell if it's going to be full of life, because even if it's super, super rare, we're here. The creatures we're here, wondering how likely other life is, can't know. We could be in a universe that we're here.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think an ant gives a fuck about me, right? Just the way you don't give a fuck about an ant, okay? or you don't give a fuck about the flu virus. We could be literally on such a low bar or low scale of intelligence in the universe or interaction that nobody gives a fuck, is the point. We've always been told, oh, we're special, we're special, we're special. What if we're not? What if we are literally the scum in the fucking pond and no one gives a rat's ass? Where, we think it's, oh, a little pale blue spot. Yeah, and we kill each other every day. That's kind of stupid, right?
Right, but I think you and I would agree that on that scale, we are the scum in the pond. I mean,
we're
whether
less than scum at this
that might be a good thing.
We're
I mean, what's the
the
matter
scum
with
of the
scum in
scum
the
in the pond.
pond? It's better than a dead pond. I mean,
That's true. That is very true. But why
so
did the
with
pond
that in
make scum?
mind, we're definitely the scum in the pond. I mean, and we're definitely the product of physics, and it might be rare, but it probably isn't rare.
I don't think it is. I just think everybody ignores us because we're fucking
But
stupid.
if it is rare, it wouldn't change that we're scum on the pond. I mean, we're in the part of the universe where there's a pond and there's the right conditions for scum, and then we grew, and you know what I mean? It doesn't change anything, and it doesn't tell us how common it might be. I think it's obviously common for other reasons.
I don't see life.
Well, when you look in space,
waves of the people. Life is a component of the universe. I don't think life.
Here's why I think life is common. I mean, the astronomers have looked for out in space, and water is one of the most common things since hydrogen.
Yes, the sun. Yeah. The sun makes water.
Right,
and on the news channel. But
yeah, so I mean, water is common.
What do you guys...
polyaromatic hydrocarbons are common. That's a basic, methane with lightning going through it creates organic. So you've got water is common. Wait, water is common. Organic molecules are not just common, but they're all throughout the universe rather. So that makes it look like life is probably pretty common. That's separate from just us existing. Existing, it could be that we're 1 in a billion to the 39th power, unlikely, and we could still exist, but so that doesn't tell us how common we are.
Yeah, and time scale.
I'm sorry, the dice. Hey, welcome the dice. You should have a chance to go.
Hey, dice. But I'm just gonna say really quick. What does it show us? That it's 1 over 0. It was a certainty. Whatever happened at the beginning of the creation of this mad shit called the universe, we were always destined to be here. That's all.
What do you think of biocentrism, in particular within the context of delayed choice? The delayed choice, the collapse of the wave function is caused by the evolution of consciousness, which starts retrocausally the Big Bang. So,
well, the collapse of the wave function really is our observation of it, so to speak.
Yeah, that's one theory.
Well, no, it just makes sense. It's the same with the two-split experiment. We fire shit at a little hole. Right, and it does weird shit. The reason why it does weird shit is because we're observing it. We can't actually measure an electron. We measure where it was, not where it is.
It's important, and the reason though is
he makes a good point.
It's because of the chemistry of our eyes and everything.
No, literally, it's the fact that we just
exist.
An
entailment.
It's not. It's the fact that we exist. We are doing the exact same thing as atoms. You need to understand. Just because we have a consciousness.
So you could have a stick of wood, and the photons hitting that stick of wood would be just as real as the photons hitting our eye.
Yeah,
so stick of
it's
wood
the exact same thing.
Collapsing the reality into one reality.
But you're also a little photon. I mean, you're not technically speaking, right? Yeah. But what I'm saying is, the implication of your existence is just like dropping a pebble in the water. Okay, let's think of the universe, right, as a big lake. Think about it this way. The universe is a big pond, right? And all of a sudden, somebody, God, whoever, whatever, drops a fucking pebble, right? Boom, you get human beings. Do you think that they doesn't create ripples around the universe? Pretty fucking sure it did. And I'm pretty sure if there's more than one pebble being dropped, i.e. aliens, I'm pretty sure they're aware of our wake, right, at this point. So, given the age of the universe and how very tiny we are in regards to evolution and blah, 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 I'm pretty sure aliens are sitting there going, holy fuck, these guys are stupid. You pay to live on your own planet. You're pretty dumb. Just saying.
Hey, the logic.
Hi, how's it going?
Not bad.
Yeah. It's
So yeah, biocentrism, the idea that, you know, life is what the universe works towards, and also this idea of the delayed choice, John Archibald Wheeler's. There's a version of it where the two are compatible, in which conscious life itself actually caused the universe to begin after it did. So it's like a backwards causation.
Well, what it's going to do, if you think about what the universe is a static entity, right? It's like a cup or whatever. You know, it's static, right? The problem is you got a self-replicating conscious being in the same place. Now,
the dice. What do you?
Hold on a second. Hold on. The only reason why it fucks up is because the only inevitable outcome of why you would have a self-replicating organism that's aware of itself is to create a new universe, and that scares me. Because well, I wouldn't say we, but things like us probably created the same thing we're sat in.
Yeah, but the dice. What do you think? I mean, because what do you think? To me, I think no. I do
It's
not
scary.
follow that theory to the point where you have to believe in an idealistic universe where thoughts existed before the reality. On the other hand, I do think there's some truth to it, because I believe that there's some sort of a multiverse, and which particular universe we're experiencing has to do with the interactions of everything, and so it sounds a lot like you're creating the universe, but not actually retroactively creating history, but through a probable.
What would be the mechanism?
Well,
anyway,
that's my setup
the problem.
to ask you your own question, though. You said no, you don't really think that. So, but is there a grain of truth to it? There is kind of a grain of truth. We live in our own realities, right?
No,
psychologically at least.
Well,
okay, well, go ahead, Stizer, and then let the dice answer too.
Well, I can let dice go first. You want to go first?
Okay, you guys go one, and then
I don't mind.
Go. How about this? The dice, and then the other two, you guys can go, and I'll be quiet.
Can go before me. Go on, Justin.
Right.
And dice first.
Can I've had a thought about some of the paradoxes of quantum mechanics, insofar as, take for example the Copenhagen interpretation, where at each level you can say, oh, there has to be an observer, and then there has to be an observer of the observer, and then there has to be ultimately a waveform of the universe and an observer of the waveform, right? I believe taking that position or thinking that position is irrational, on the same way religion is, insofar as if you pose a question to yourself or to nature, and you end up with a recursive answer without a clear bottom to that recursion, an infinite recursion, then the question is clearly invalid in some way. And thus, any paradox which says, oh, I ended up needing to observe myself, and the fact that I existed created itself, is inherently, somehow, you might not be aware of it yet, but somewhere in the logic, the question is invalid.
I don't think anybody's making that claim in the room.
Well, I think this is a really important point, because a lot of people set up the distinction between appearance and reality, and they have this dualistic conception of the reality and the one who observes it. I try and collapse and just say it's all kind of one.
Well, it is one, because it's a requirement. What people like to do.
Let's say everybody in the universe dies. Let's say everybody in the universe dies, but we leave a video camera running. There's a video camera on a tripod, and
Someone's
it's running.
Watch it then.
That would be an observer, right?
Yes.
observer is just a physical device that's recording information.
No, it's not, because it's not.
No, a lead box is not an observer, only because its physics
hold on.
absorbs everything and doesn't really record the observation.
I'm sorry. You see, the video camera can't evolve. We can. Yeah, you're missing the point here.
It doesn't matter. It would still be an observer.
No, it matters
quantum mechanically, it would collapse everything into a particular strain of information.
It matters immensely. It matters immensely. We are capable physically of changing the nature of the beast.
Okay, well, that was the point of the question, is to get your opinion. So you say there is a difference. I guess I'm saying it's just a question, so that's right. Your answer is that there is a difference, and that's kind of the point of the question. I guess I gave away what I think, which is it would be an observer. But the question really is, would this camera be an observer? I guess not count. I think, yes, it would be. It doesn't require consciousness. It just requires, like, the physics of the eye. And to a degree, a wood 2x4 would absorb the energy and be enough of the physics, but it doesn't record it as a coherent image, so it wouldn't be quite as clear, so there would be more indeterminacy and therefore less surety about a single physical phenomena going on, right?
No.
In other words, I say the humans are better observers because we have eyes. The eyes actually count how the eye is built, and a camera is close enough to an eye to do the same job. Anyway, you understand what I'm saying, not that you agree.
I'm still
not that you agree, but I mean, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
An observer can be a purely physical device, in my view, without a consciousness.
But at the end of the day, right, what separates us from the rest of the fucking crowd is we can do something about it. Now, this is where I get spooked out. Look, I love physics, right? I'm not into woo or crystals or any of that crazy shit. I'm into pure hard physics and mathematics, right? What scares me the most is that when you actually look up proper physics, right, and then you apply them to an organism in the universe, it gets pretty weird pretty fucking quickly. I am not kidding. When I first
that's a bit off point, guys. Let me answer Pyro's question about. I think anything in the universe is an observer, in principle, because an electron can become an observation is classed as an entanglement. Therefore, depending on, in some measure, if you evacuated the entire universe of humanity, then it would observe itself in the Copenhagen type interpretation.
No, it wouldn't.
Because as one electron roaming about might emit a photon which is absorbed by another, or it passes close. And
but they don't have intention. We do. This is the point you're missing. We are so crazy. Honestly, you can ask MIT lecturers, anybody. No. What you just said, right, about electrons.
Guys, or you admitted earlier, there is no room for intention in physics yet.
No, but what I'm saying is,
there is no explanation of life.
Hold on, wait. I'm trying to answer what Hafliday said. He's saying, well, there's electrons roaming around the universe. Yes, this is true. There is. They're doing it right now. They did it before we existed. The difference is that they don't have fucking brains. We do.
But what's the difference? You're saying
the difference is we can create universes.
But let's put it simple. Let's put it as simple, even though it'll be weird. Wait, even though it'll be weird, let's put it simple. I mean, in quantum mechanics, there's a superposition. Possibly...
We are it.
Are you saying that without consciousness, you never have the collapse? Consciousness causes the collapse, so that
I'm saying, if we're gonna say universes exist, which we obviously live in one, but let's say there's multiverses or whatever. What I'm saying is, it's whether one exists. Let me finish. In order to get a new universe, would require something like us. That's the scary bit. You could not get a new universe without the capability of a human being or the equivalent. You just couldn't. We can't escape entropy. So what do we do as human beings? We create a new universe or escape the one that we're in. That's the nature of the beast. Like, seriously. Look, why would you have a self-replicating organism in a fucking universe that's technically a rock? That doesn't make no sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So the universe would obviously have to divide itself, right? Not like divide like in the same place.
Yeah.
But it's going to have to divide. So it requires a mechanism. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but we're the mechanism. We are the mechanism in which universes are created. I don't care. Human beings, not technically us, but I'm going to use us as an example. Consciousness is how we get universes to do other universes. Either we make
and
one or we escape to
you're
another
trying
one.
to be rhetorically careful because of the fact that maybe.
Well, I don't want to sound like a fucking nutcase.
Well, maybe.
Trying to be as very simple as
possible. You're saying
possible.
consciousness, not necessarily humans, but it might be possible to create such a consciousness, or it's been created in other animals, or it could be created artificially.
Yeah,
is that why you're being careful? Because you're not saying exactly what it requires to be conscious. You're not being like, humans are the only ones that do this.
Humans. I'm not saying humans. I'm just using us as an example.
Yeah, so in other words, there's some physics, which we are an example of. Maybe there's other examples we don't know yet that have this requirement of creating possibilities.
No, we create whatever we are.
Separate universes. The separate possibilities are separate universes.
Whatever we are as conscious beings is a requirement to create other possibilities of other universes.
And if there was none of us, that would be. No, but wait. And if there was none of us, then what's left of the universe? Just like superimposed.
Well, that's the thing. What that guy just said there.
It would exist, but it wouldn't be particular. Is that right?
But what Dice
would it exist?
No, but what Dice said makes sense. Whoever created this one probably had a brain. That's why people believe in God, because that makes fucking sense.
Right, but he wasn't advocating that. He was just raising
it's God, and fuck knows where it came from.
But reductively, you'd have to terminate that chain of intelligent causation.
Right.
Well, we wouldn't have to terminate it. It's just, what's the function? Like, I've got a gazillion cells in my body, right? Like, shitloads. They all do their job. They don't ask why. They're just doing their job, right?
Well, Dice,
hold on. I would be technically God as a finite being. How do we know that we're not living in a finite being? We don't know that shit. We could be all living in a fucking body of some twat who's picking fucking carrots.
Probably.
Know that shit,
some guy.
Right?
That's
a bit weird, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Well,
let me answer this a fresh way. So here's what I think, the extreme view that I accept. Maybe this is the way it is. Maybe if there was no sentient beings in our universe or our locality, whichever, it might be that the universe to me would still have to exist. There would be something there.
Oh yeah, of course. That wouldn't be a problem.
However, it might be totally what in Copenhagen, terms would be uncollapsed, right? Like it's a big superposition of every possible thing that could happen. It's all happening at once, and it takes a sentient being. That's the physics for some reason. Who knows why? To collapse it to one thing. And
anthropic as well.
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, it's very anthropic because what I'm saying is without humans, you'd have every universe still. With humans, boom, it has to be the universe humans can survive in.
Exactly.
So I could see something like that, but I can't see no universe existing, somehow sentience coming along and creating it. To me,
but the thing,
I
don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Let me just finish. I'm saying that's kind of from a too Hindu for me school of the universe. Yeah, the universe is your animus. Like somehow the first thing in the universe is your animus, and you create all of the non-animated things through your existence. It could be that you create the concreteness by perceiving it,
Yeah.
And otherwise, it would be unconcrete. That's the most extreme.
It's the opposite way around.
When you say it's in a superposition of states, do you just mean abstractly as a kind of set of possibilities, or do you mean that they actually exist like many worlds side by side? Or
well, it'd be a rock, wouldn't it?
No, the former. I mean, I believe in what like Feynman called many histories instead of many worlds. It's like, you know, the universes look like they can diverge and converge, and they converge a lot. Maybe the dark matter is the bulk extra, but it's all reconverging. It's not infinite. How could you have conservation of energy
in an infinite universe?
If you just split and split and split it. However, you could have a finite amount of energy, split, remerge, split, 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 remerge, remerge, split again, remerge,
Well,
remerge.
You just have to have a lot of different components which have their own energy. That's
so
all.
It would be the first thing. What I'm saying is without consciousness. So when the tree falls in the forest, maybe it fell, it didn't fall, it made a sound, it didn't make a sound.
It did make a sound.
You know, maybe it did all of these things if there's no consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And
this is the point. This is the problem, right?
I don't really believe that. Remember, I believe that if you have a 2x4 by the tree, that the tree falls, the sound vibrates the 2x4. I believe that's enough to make the universe concrete without sentience.
I'm gonna go.
I'm not a big sentient.
But I'm gonna go with your former.
I'm big on making sentience.
Look. The only way you know about sound. Wait, the only way you know you can ask that question is because you was given an answer. We know what sound is, so it's a stupid question anyway. When a tree falls in a forest, does it make a sound? Well, yes, it does, because we know what a tree is. We know what it does when it falls down, and we know what sound it makes when it fucking falls down. So all the prerequisites there are given.
But Stizer, the issue here, I think, is related to this idea of the collapse of the wave function. And I think it's controversial whether it ever even does collapse. However, as sentient beings, we know we experience something that could be called the collapse. We experience that collapse. We experience
the collapse of the wave function is matter itself.
So the question is, we know we don't see a physical reason there has to be a collapse, but we experience and sense a collapse. So the question is, if there was none of us, would there be a collapse at all?
No, that's the point.
Well, exactly. That's the issue. Would it be a big soup of everything? And is that Is that a multiverse like Dice?
No, it's not. Does
that mean everything exists, or it means nothing exists?
It means that only things exist when you observe them, dude. Come on.
Well, right. So you're coming
down. How we measure. That's how we measure.
You are coming down fairly clearly, but I don't know if it's intentional on saying that consciousness really is fundamental. That
it is. It has to be.
To have a particular event.
I'm sorry, dude. All right, look at it this way.
I think that the
universe doesn't make.
Well, the wood was living. That's a bad.
The universe doesn't make mistakes.
Look, a crystal that has photons going through it, to me, that would exist whether there was any sentience in the universe.
Yeah,
the photons would hit the crystal, they'd be refracted, it'd be Pink Floyd, they'd have a spectrum, rainbow.
The problem is, you can only say that because you do exist.
Well, that is the problem. Yes, that's why we're asking it.
No, but what you keep doing is you keep doing a pretense. You keep saying,
but you can't just use that rhetorically. The question is that fundamental? Because obviously,
yes, it is fundamental.
I have a psychological.
It has to be fundamental.
I have a psychological experience.
All right, then. Before we existed in the universe, which I'm pretty sure we didn't at one point, the suns were still round, right?
Well, that's kind of in the debate. I'm
pretty sure there's no cuboid fucking sun.
No, but wait. If we talk about this multiverse where the constants of physics could be changed, there could be suns in the shape of a torus.
Well, that's true. But
including but let me add.
There could be a universe in which there's a giant unicorn that shits out suns.
Well, let me just add that I'm not just saying there could be Taurus suns,
but in
that universe, our sun would be a Taurus.
Well, What I'm
So which
saying
is
is, right,
it really a sphere or a torus, or does a torus
well,
not exist?
look,
Or
at
is
the
it
end
a
of the day, right,
sphere because we
look,
experienced it? Maybe we can't
let's
exist in a
go back to
torus.
physics. Let's go back to physics, right?
What if
The
the
point is,
physics of a
the only
torus-shaped
reason why,
star
the
doesn't
only
allow life?
look,
So we're not there, so it doesn't exist,
the
and it
only
only
reason
exists
why,
here because it's possible?
everything's possible is because you exist. Just because we can
Yeah.
think about an infinite amount of shit.
Yeah, but the
Right?
dice. Let me answer for Sizer. He's
no,
saying
let's forget
yes,
that.
retroactively
Forget
create
that. No,
physics by
forget that.
experiencing it.
Forget that shit.
That's what you're saying, Sizer.
Forget what the possibilities
No,
are.
Sizer, you're
Let's go
answering.
back to the actual mathematics.
No, but wait, the
It's a
dice had an
certainty that
interesting
you
question.
exist is the fucking problem.
The
It's a
dice-
certainty that you are able to say there's a torus as a fucking star. Now, you can't get there without figuring out the first axiom in this equation. The axiom is that you exist. This is the problem. Why would life be in the universe anyway?
Sticer, you're basically answering the question that Dice proposed. You're answering it in the affirmative. Yes, the fact that we observe, the fact that we're existing in a universe we can exist in creates that universe. The sun is not a torus because in the universe where the sun is a torus, organic molecules, let's say,
they still can exist.
Well, let's just say in that universe, I mean, I'm not running the actual mathematics, but let's just say for the sun to be shaped like a torus, involves physics that also implies organic chemicals can't exist. We don't exist in that universe, therefore,
but the
universe. Let me finish. Therefore, the universe that exists is the one specifically that we can exist in, specifically because we can exist in it. And then that answers Dice's question with, yeah, we retroactively generate the universe because it's the one we can exist in. Yeah, so that's interesting. You're saying the equivalent of, we, by existing here, created in the past.
Not in the, I wouldn't say in the past. I wouldn't say in the past. I wouldn't say in the past, right? But what I'm saying is the functionality of organic material in a universe like ours raises some very important questions. That's all, right? So if you exist in this universe, we basically go against the laws of thermodynamics, which is pretty fucking weird. I can literally.
We do that in this universe, right? Yeah, we are exactly the thing that pumps entropy.
We go against in our natural form beings with brains or whatever, and that goes for anybody. We go against that shit. We literally fuck up the universe by our very own existence, which is pretty weird. And I love science, but it's still fucking weird.
Well, you know what, Stizer, I'm going to finish up because I got to go, but I think it's the least weird thing because of this quantum information. It makes perfect sense to me that the universe is all about entropy and we are the phenomena, that life is the phenomena that pumps entropy, that pumps entropy, that is a device that locally, I mean, overall, the laws of thermodynamics are being obeyed, but locally, we can pump it out because we're not closed systems, right? The law of entropy says a closed system has entropy increase, but we're not closed systems. We're open systems.
Exactly.
And we pump entropy.
We go against it. We are literally its yin to its fucking yang.
I think there is something that has to be fundamental to that fact that, we are the refrigerators of the universe. We defy that something cold makes the thing next to it hot.
Exactly. No, it's true. That's Maxwell's demon. I swear to God. When I
Maxwell's demon. There's no doubt.
I said, dude, I made a video on that ages ago. Yeah. I think I made it in like 2007 or some shit, man. I said,
yeah, I know.
When Maxwell came up with that equation, that's life. We're Maxwell's demon. Who the fuck? How does our brain do hot and cold? Well, that's a bit spooky. We defy thermodynamics by its very equations.
Or every cell in our body. It's very well coordinated.
Yeah.
It could be jostling around like any old petri dish, but it's so well coordinated. And what does it coordinate? It pumps entropy. It's like,
heat.
oh yeah, law of physics. I guess I better get to work on that, and it does the opposite.
It's awesome. Yeah,
and it does it without violating the law of entropy, of course.
Exactly. It
absorbs energy and uses it to beat the entropy thing.
Yeah.
If you use energy, I mean, the law of entropy doesn't say entropy can't go down. It just says you need energy to do it.
Yeah.
And we do
Hello.
Yeah, so,
and
so
entropy creates order in the universe.
This kind of thing makes the universe look mathematical to me, because the idea that you'd have information, and entropy is information you don't know, and then information is the information you do know, and
which is why we
are the thing. We're the thing that turns information you don't know into information you do know.
Which we take more material shit, right?
Yeah, so we haven't caught up with the physics, but philosophically, that's very compelling already, because
we do it automatically. We do it, and we didn't even notice we're doing it.
Exactly.
We are Maxwell's demon. I swear, I spit down.
No, I agree
before
with you.
I go
I'm glad
to my
we
grave.
can finish here, because I agree with you. With all of our physical differences, and we're both very poetic, makes us have difference. I think that's true. We are Maxwell's demon, and for the people that don't know what that is, you have the Google. Look it up. And Maxwell's demon, and Stizer and I agree, rather, that we are
Maxwell's demon.
Yeah, exactly.
Just look it up. And thank you, Pyro, for a cool hangout. I know I kept you longer than you
wanted for showing up.
Stay.
No, this was good. I could have stayed longer, but this is good. And thanks for showing up on a Friday hangout.
No problem, my good sir.
All right.
No problem. But yeah, the next one we have to do a Maxwell's Demon hangout, because that would be fucking cool.
It would be, and I could do some research and try to be very, specific about the whole thing. I think you're right. Maxwell's Demon is a very interesting concept, and I think we will find that in some sense scientists would agree. We are defying entropy through something that's very akin
life.
What Maxwell's demon would be doing.
Yeah, it's like life is the mechanism for how we.
Again,
all right. Let's save it for the next hangout.
Okay, yeah, but I got to finish. Maxwell's demon. We can't say what the mechanism is. It's not exactly, obviously, the same as in his demon, but it is analogous.
Yeah,
we know it's analogous. There is a little shutter. It's letting information / energy through.
Well, how do humans know the difference between hot and cold? What's going on there then? Yeah. If we're not Maxwell's demon, I don't know what the fuck he's trying to tell me, but I'm pretty sure I fucking know.
Yeah, you're right. We should have a conversation on this. That's a very good example. Yeah. How do you even know
what hot and cold is?
And why does your warm hand feel cold
at the same time?
And hot and cold water in somebody else's warm hand? How does all of that work? It's because you're collecting energy against the tide of entropy.
And
against the tide, yeah.
No, dude, we need to do this hangout. Do you want to do it tomorrow, maybe? I don't know if you're free.
Yeah, well, I'll be here Sunday, and we can, I'd like to do some week time hangouts, though, too, and I'm trying to catch Barklord in the week here sometime.
Well, all right, then just
keep your eye
out. Me up. All right, hit me up.
Keep your eye out. Okay.
I think that's going to be a good hangout. Maxwell's Demon. Literally call it that, Maxwell's Demon.
Okay, I'll signal that.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. All right, take it easy.
Peace out, everybody. Love you. And don't forget to subscribe and like up and all that.
That's right. Peace, Stizer.
Peace.